And we're black. Yes, and I am Rebecca for the blacks, but actually I'm being Canadian. I'm being myself right now, which I'm allowed to do. So Biden is going to be speaking really soon. I decided to go live. Breaking news. Breaking news. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Showtime. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning in. Please feel free to comment. Critical race theory, the future of democracy, the future of the Democratic Party. Are any of our issues going to be addressed? Are we going to get reparations? Are we actually going to get roads that work and Wi-Fi that works and schools that aren't crumbling and let out of the water in Flint? Like, these are all the issues. Welcome to Black Issues, and sometimes solutions. Sometimes there are solutions. So love you all, Black.
Democrats, progressives, did not vote for this because they did not feel that they had the assurances necessary that the other bigger human infrastructure Build Back Better bill will pass the week of November 15th. And as a result, they held
so Clubhouse as usual, doing bullshit rooms, two white men talking about racism and education.
Didn't have a 6-vote margin.
I don't know anymore.
Republicans did actually support this. Some Republicans did. So passed with a comfortable margin. And the president is out there touting this now. I spoke to the
so stupid to me. I'm just like, what do people think they're doing? I mean, it's not, we're not going to argue down people who are committed to being racist on social media. Like, not really happening.
It becomes the purview of the Department of Transportation. This infrastructure bill, the money in it, the projects that it'll fund will be done with the Department of Transportation. It is a massive bill. It's about $1 trillion. It doesn't cost nothing. It will add to the deficit.
Infrastructure bill.
See a great deal of benefit from it, including the fact that the infrastructure in this country is
today.
We're seeing people rise.
What time is it? 10 o'clock.
Let's listen.
10:05. There we go.
I'm so happy to say that. Infrastructure week. Folks, yesterday, I don't think
and we're black, so I'm live on Clubhouse. I'm live on YouTube. So I'm going to be quiet for a little while so that everybody can hear, and then we can definitely talk. And if you want to see the video, I'm going to pin my YouTube channel to the top so you all can see the Biden press conference and me making fun of it with emoji colors.
That's long overdue.
Can you all hear it properly? Is it loud enough?
But never actually been done. The House of Representatives passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's a fancy way of saying a bipartisan infrastructure bill. A once-in-a-generation investment that's going to create millions of jobs, modernize our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our broadband, a whole range of things, to turn the climate crisis into an opportunity.
So thank you all so much. When he's done talking, I'll bring people up from the audience to talk.
That we face with China and other large countries and the rest of the world. It's going to create more jobs, good paying jobs, union jobs that can't be outsourced, and they're going to transform our transportation system for the most significant investments. In passenger rail, the most significant investment in 50 years. In roads and bridges, the most significant investment in 70 years. And more investment in public transit than we've ever made, period. It's going to modernize our ports and our airports. I'm going to be going to some of our ports next week. And the freight rail, increasing that as a reason. I mean, look, we have bottlenecks across the country.
So again, if you all want to see the press conference, you can also click the link at the top. That's my YouTube live. I'm also live streaming it visually. And I'm using emoji pillows to talk about it. So you'll be highly amused.
According to economists, this is going to be ease inflationary pressure, not increase it, ease inflationary pressures by lowering costs for working families. It's going to create jobs replacing lead water pipes. So every American, every child can drink clean water, improving their health and putting plumbers and pipe fitters to work. How long have we been talking about that? It's a gigantic issue. Jobs, making high-speed internet affordable and available everywhere in America. And you heard me say this before, but I apologize for repeating myself, but no parent should have to sit in the parking lot of a fast food restaurant so their child can do their homework because they have no internet connection except to go off of what's going on with that internet connection from the fast food restaurant. It's going to make significant historic strides to take on the climate crisis. Some of you were with me when I was recently in Scotland at the COP26. What do people keep asking me? Are you going to fund this? Are you going to fund it? Are you really going to do what you're saying? Well, this gets along a big step along the way of doing it. We're going to build out the first ever national network of charging stations all across the country.
Promises, promises, promises.
So that you can make a real, and auto companies are made a commitment. They're going to make 50% of vehicles electric by 2030. So you'll be able to go across the whole darn country, from East Coast to West Coast. Just like you stop at gas stations now, these charging stations will be available. We'll get America off the sidelines on manufacturing of solar panels, wind turbines, battery storage, energy and power for electric vehicles, from school buses to automobiles. And it will reward companies for paying good wages and for getting materials for their products from right here in America. And America exporting and providing the rest of the world with these technologies that are generated here in the United States as we go green around the world. It also makes historic investments in environmental cleanup and remediation. It builds up our resilience against superstorms and droughts and wildfires, hurricanes. You've heard me say it again. I apologize for repeating myself, but $99
Hold on, so I'm ready now.
in losses last year because of climate crisis. Not in America. $99 billion it cost the taxpayers in America. It represents a blinking red code out there for our nation.
It's loud enough, right?
President Harris and I look forward to.
So I'm starting to do my emoji pillow live telecast now on YouTube. Click that link so you can see it.
I'm not doing it this weekend because I want people who work so hard to get this done, Democrats and Republicans, to be here when we sign it. But we're looking more forward to having shovels in the ground to begin rebuilding America. And for all of you at home who feel left behind and forgotten in an economy that's changing so rapidly, this bill is for you. The vast majority of the thousands of jobs that will be created don't require a college degree. There'll be jobs in every part of the country. Red states, blue states, cities, small towns, rural communities, tribal communities. This is a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America, and it's long overdue. I'm also proud that the House took a big step forward to pass my Build Back Better Act, which for November 15th, they're going to be taken up. They went through the procedural mechanisms to ensure that occurs. Let me be clear. We will pass this in the House, and we'll pass it in the Senate. The Build Back Better Act will be a once-in-a-generation investment in our people, getting America back to work by reducing the cost of child care and elder care, getting millions of women back in the job who have to stay home because they cannot afford the child care or the health care for their parents, providing universal pre-K for every 3- and 4-year-old child in America, and increasing their academic achievement potential significantly, making healthcare more affordable, lowering prescription drug costs, the tax cuts for working people and the middle class so that folks have just a little, I know you're tired of hearing me say, my dad used to always say, and as a middle class guy, we just need a little breathing room, It's going to reduce child poverty in this country, by the way, by 50%. We're already on track to do that with the child tax credit we passed in our last piece of legislation. And this bill is fiscally responsible. That's a fancy way of saying it's fully paid for. It doesn't raise the deficit by a single penny. And it actually reduces the deficit, according to the leading economists in this country, over the long term. And it's paid for by making sure that the wealthiest Americans, the biggest corporations, begin to pay their fair share. Again, you've heard me say it 100 times. Why should 40 or 55 corporations made over $40 billion in the last couple of years, why should they pay zero in tax? I said, I'm a capitalist, I'm not a socialist, but the bottom line is everybody should pay their fair share. Zero in taxes? Come on. And keep my campaign commitment, it does not raise a single penny in tax for anyone making less than $400,000 a year. Say it again. Folks, no matter what they tell you, you're going to find out. This will not affect your taxes one little bit and having to pay a penny more if you make less than $400,000 a year. Independent experts have concluded that these bills are the highest value investments that we can make to grow the economy. It's going to create millions of jobs, increase productivity and wages, reduce costs, and generate significant and historic economic growth. Again, the press is here. The poor people have to follow me all the time. They've heard me say this a lot. We got out of the blue a couple weeks ago a letter from 17 Nobel Prize winners in economics. And they determined that it will ease inflationary pressures, not create them, ease them, ease those pressures. And for the economy, it recognizes that we face an inflection point. For most of the 20th century, we led the world by a significant margin because we invested in our people. We invested in ourselves. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. Jill would say, my wife says, any country out educates is going to outcompete us. We invested in education. We invested in health. We invested in things that affect people's opportunities to succeed. We built an interstate highway system, which led to the best roads, bridges, airports, and transit systems in the world. These are the arteries of commerce that move goods from coast to coast quickly. That's why people decide to build facilities here in the United States. We empowered our companies to outcompete the world. And we created jobs and untold opportunities for our people to travel, to live, and to work. But somewhere along the way, we stopped investing in ourselves. We stopped investing in our people. And we risked losing our edge as a nation. I don't even think it was conscious, but this just what's happened. And China and the rest of the world are moving to catch up, in some cases, in certain areas, move ahead. Our infrastructure used to be rated the best in the world. Today, according to the World Economic Forum, we rank 13th in the world. The United States of America ranks 13th in the world in infrastructure. Come on. We used to lead the world in education achievement. Now, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, ranks America 35th out of 37 major countries when it comes to investing in early education for childhood education and care. Think about that. Those of your parents know. You start kids early, you give them the basis, you give them the material to be able to go on. It's simply unacceptable that we rank 35. We're now turning it around in a big way. Any single element of this plan would be a fundamental change in America. But taken together, they're truly consequential. Again, I have more to say about this soon, but when we have the bill signing, I'll be able to thank everyone in the Senate and the House for their leadership. I hesitate to start now. I'll leave somebody out. And I want to make sure everyone who was part of this gets credit for it. But for now, I want to quickly thank members of the House who worked so hard to get some of this done. Speaker Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, Jim Clyburn, progressive leaders, moderate leaders, Democrats, Republicans. They in fact worked together. It was like, as I saw, someone told me in my staff this morning that on one of the programs this morning, they said, well, the sausage is made. It is a process. You all know it. You're all pros. You cover it. The American people have made clear one overwhelming thing, I think, and I really mean it. All the talk about the elections and what do they mean. They want us to deliver. They want us to deliver. Democrats, they want us to deliver. Last night, we can, on one big item, we delivered. I want to close with this. For much too long, working people in the middle class of this country have been dealt out of the promise of America. That sounds like hyperbole, but I really mean it. Some of you may remember when I ran, I was legitimately, it's appropriate to be criticized. I'm not complaining about being criticized, but when I said I was running for 3 reasons. One, to restore the soul of America, bring back some decency and honor in the way in which we dealt with one another. The second reason was to rebuild the backbone of the country, the middle class. The wealthy are value added to the country, but they didn't build a country. Hard working middle class folks are the ones that built this country. They're the ones that built the middle class. They're the ones that built the backbone of the country. And what I decided to do was I said we have to begin to build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Well, folks, that hadn't been the case. I'm so tired about trickle-down economic theory that I'm trickled out. The idea that, and I asked a rhetorical question, when the middle class has done well, when are the wealthy have never have it? When at any time have the wealthy not done extremely well as well? I mean, come on. We've got to give working folks a real chance, a chance. And so, folks, there's an awful lot more to say about this, but today, I think is just been a good day. You know, it's time to deal folks back in. You know, as you've heard me say it again, I make no apologies for it. These bills, in fact, are the two bills we're talking about, the Build Back Better bill, which we're going to be working on now, and this bill, are all designed to give ordinary people a fighting chance to begin to sort of let play, not punish anybody. I've long said it's never ever been a good bet to bet against the American people. Never. And that what it really means is bet on the American people. Give them a shot. Give them a shot. That's what these plans do. They bet on average Americans. They believe in America. They believe in the limitless capacity of the American people. If you look at the history of the journey of this nation, what becomes crystal clear, not a joke, given half a chance, the American people never, ever, 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 ever let their country down. We're about giving them a full chance this time. And you know, when we do, there's going to be no stopping us. I truly believe that 50 years from now, folks are going to look back and say, this was the moment, this was the period, this year and the next couple of years, when America decided to win the competition of the 21st century, to get in the game full bore. So my message to all the American folks is, let's get to work. Let's get this done. God bless you all, and may God protect your troops, and I'll take a few questions.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. Well, Mr. President, what about reparations? Are there any reparations in this package?
I don't. I'm not going to.
Are you building a bridge over troubled waters with this infrastructure bill,
how the
Mr.
election
President?
would have been different. Each state is different, and I don't know. But I think the one message that came across was get something done. It's time to get something done. Stop talking. Get something done. And so I think, again, that's what the American people are looking for. And I think it's a legitimate, and when you ask how we were able to bring things together, well, you know, look, all kidding aside, I believe everybody in the process is entitled to be treated with respect. And I've been doing this kind of thing, doesn't mean it's not all me, but I've been doing this thing my whole life. I've been able in the Senate to put things together when people said they couldn't be put together, just by making the overwhelming point that you can't have all you want. It's a process. There's no one piece of legislation that's going to solve everybody's problems. So I spent a lot of time, as you probably heard, with a lot of people, both political parties and within my party, saying, look, if we move on what's here in this bill, that is the infrastructure bill, it is a game changer in a half a dozen ways. The fact that it has too much of what you don't want and more than you, and not enough of what you don't want, just let's be reasonable. Let's take a look at this. Let's do what we all agree at a minimum is in the interest of the American people. And if you want to add more, we can fight about it later. Or you want to subtract some of it. I've never voted for a major piece of legislation, an omnibus bill, that I was for every piece of it. People say, well, how do I explain this? I said, well, you explain to the American, your constituency, and I'm not telling you how to do it, but you go home and say, this is what it did. It had one piece in here, there's not enough money for this, or there's too much money for that. But overall, this has been a gigantic benefit to my congressional district. And so I spent a lot of time taking questions from both. And by the way, everybody at the end of the day, I have to admit, dealt with me fairly. I mean, they were, and part of the process, and there's probably more than you need to know, but
I need to know when we're getting reparations is what I
Part of
need
the
to know.
process is getting to
Continue,
know
Biden.
all the people personally again. I've been out of government for 4 years. I used to do this every day. I used to know about everybody's district I was working with when I was vice president. I know them and call up and say, hey, Charlie or Harry.
Yeah.
And so it's getting to know a lot of these people, to build trust. Because everything I say I'm going to try to do, I'll try to do. And I think that's also part of the process.
You'll try to do.
And so
That's not
hopefully-
very encouraging. It sounds like a cop out. I'll try. Again, if you want to watch also the YouTube live link that I have pinned to the top, you can see my puppet show that I'm animating this press conference. Thank you.
Isn't it doomed? And then my second question, Mr. President, OPEC Plus has snubbed your call to pump more oil. When will you respond with an SPR release?
Well, first of all, I'm not anticipating that OPEC would respond, that Russia and or Saudi Arabia would respond. They're going to pump some more oil. Whether they pump enough oil is a different thing. There are other tools in the arsenal that we have to deal, and I'm dealing with other countries at an appropriate time. I will talk about it, that we can get more energy in the pipeline, figuratively and literally speaking. And I don't start off with any assumption that I can't get anybody to vote for anything. And so I'm not sincerely. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see what happens in the Senate and whether or not I need only Democratic votes, which is likely. This is a likely outcome. And the question is, can I get all of those votes? This is a process. And all along, you told me I can't do any of it anyway. From the very beginning, no, come, be honest, okay? You didn't want me to do any of it. And I don't blame you, because you look at the facts, you wonder how this is going to get done. But I think there's a dawning on the part of a lot of people, a whole elective office, that if you get some of this done, things are better for them as well as everybody else. And I'm sure some calculations saying, well, Biden gets this other bill, and he's going to be moving too fast, and it's going to hurt. The Democrats are going to be doing too well. That's why I think we have to try to figure out how to make the case across the board as to, there's a lot of things we have to tackle yet, so.
Mr. President.
Have you gotten assurances from moderate Democrats in the House and Senate that they
Manchin and
are
Sinema.
going to vote for your Build Back Better plan now that what they really wanted, the infrastructure bill, has passed?
I'm not going to answer that question for you, because I'm not going to get into who and what made what commitments to me. I don't negotiate in public, but I feel confident that we will have enough votes to pass the Build Back Better plan.
What gives you that confidence? What gives you that confidence?
Me.
People are laughing.
Aid family leave from your framework a couple of weeks ago. Sorry? You were forced to pull aid family leave from the framework you released a couple of weeks ago. The House is putting it back in. Can you keep it in this bill when it makes its way to the Senate?
Time will tell.
I'd like to ask you a quick question. Where do you stand? You said last week that this report about migrant families at the border getting payments was garbage.
$450,000.
Let's get it straight. You said everybody coming across the border gets $450,000.
The number was what you had a
The
problem.
number I was referring to.
Okay,
Now, here's the thing.
sure.
If in fact, because of the outrageous behavior of the last administration,
Trump.
you coming across the border, whether it was legal or illegal, and you lost your child, it's gone. You deserve some kind of compensation, no matter what the circumstance. What that will be, I have no idea.
Give us a number.
Yes.
DOJ negotiating a settlement.
And Kamala Harris is just standing there. Yeah.
Two questions. You referred to China twice in your comments, and yet you haven't heard anything about the China bill, which is really the third element of what you're hoping to do here. It's been through the Senate, has not yet come up to the House, and it would seem that that is the one that is more key to our competitiveness. So I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about that, And then also tell us how you're feeling right now about the Iran deal, since it looks like you're going to go back to discussion at the end of the month. But the Iranians have made it pretty clear at this point, they plan to rip up most of what was done so far. So are you into your plan B at this point?
I'm not going to comment on Iran now. And the China bill you're referring to, everything in good time. We got to get this through. We got to get this through. The next thing is Build Back Better.
Do that?
Well, in order. I'm going to take one more question and then
Mr. President, are you building a bridge over troubled water for the blacks? Mr. President? Mr. President? Mr. President?
Your presidency this week. Nobody elected him to be FDR. They elected him to be normal and stop the chaos. How do you do your mandate after Tuesday's election losses for Democrats?
The losses.
Well, Abigail's a friend. We had a long talk. She joked and said, and I have a picture, she said, I have a picture of Roosevelt hanging in my office, her office, okay? I don't intend to be anybody but Joe Biden. That's who I am. And what I'm trying to do is do the things that I ran on to do. And look, people out there are ordinary, hardworking Americans, are really, really been put through the ringer the last couple of years, starting with COVID. COVID has disrupted almost every family one way or another, whether it's wearing a mask or losing a family member. You know, 750,000 plus Americans dead. 750,000. And so people are worried. People are also worried about, coming up with, they don't understand them. Why is the price of agricultural products, when I go to the store, why is it higher?
Why couldn't you just say groceries?
Like, for
What
example,
the hell are agricultural products?
If we were all going out and having lunch together and I said, let's ask whoever's in the next table, no matter what restaurant we're in, have them explain the supply chain to us. Think they understand what we're talking about? They're smart people, but supply chain. Well, why is everything backed up? Well, it's backed up because the people who supply the materials that end up being on our kitchen table or in our life. Guess what? They're closed those plants because they have COVID. They're not. And so it's a complicated world that people are facing. We've never faced anything like this before. I mean, I'm not saying it's the worst of every time in American history, but we never faced anything this sort of defiant of understanding of what's going on.
Yes, we can't get tickle me on this Christmas. People are upset.
Whether you have a PhD or you're working, in a restaurant, it's confusing.
People have to make their own stuffing instead of getting box stuffing. People are upset.
And so all I can say is what I'm going to try to do is explain to the American people as best I can.
What about the blacks? What about the blacks?
You all write for a living. I haven't seen any one of you explain supply chain very well. No, I'm not being critical. I'm being deadly earnest. When your
Oh!
says,
Y'all hear this? That's y'all's president.
Okay? So luck in your senior years, my coach used to say. But I sincerely mean it. This is a confusing time. Confusing time. Think of all those children who may have lost more than a year of education by only being out one semester. Think of all this going on in terms of access to everything from when you go back to college, if you're in college, you go back to college, where do you have to wear your mask, or who's your roommate? This is a confusing moment. And it seems to me that my job.
Basically, what he's saying in translation is we're fucked. He's basically just saying that. That's what he's saying.
What is most needed to put people at ease and let them know there's a way through this? There's a way through this. The world has never been here before. That sounds like hyperbole, but think about it. Think about it. This truly is one of those inflection points in history. All the pieces of the board are moving, both in terms of the relationships among and between nations, as well as the pieces of what employment future people have. How do we
Is he still talking, y'all? Is he still talking?
This is a confusing time, but I promise
I try.
the American people,
Uh-huh.
I have one focus. How do we give you some breathing room?
We give the blacks
How do we get you
reparations.
to the point where we take pressure off you so you can begin to get back to the degree of
That was
normality,
easy.
and we move
Give us
to a
reparations.
different place. And this time when we move, and by the way, everybody internationally uses Build Back Better now. When I use the phrase initially, people look at me like, Build Back Better. Well, what it means, we're the only country in the world gone through a crisis, that goes through a crisis and come out better than we were before the
Oh
crisis.
God, here comes
That's
American
going back
exceptionalism.
better than it was before.
Bring on the Jets, Biden. Bring on the Jets.
And I just, we're gonna see. Take it every day.
Woo!
every
For those
moment.
of you who are watching on
You know,
YouTube,
one
I'm
moment at a time.
waving my red, white, and blue pom pom.
And that's the last question I'm taking. You can decide who I'm pointing to.
Oh, he's playing like red light, green light, 1, 2, 3 with the reporters, which when they go ask next.
The Build Back Better bill will be passed, like Thanksgiving, Christmas.
I don't want to make your job easier. I don't want to give it, I know the answer exactly when it's gonna be passed. And I know exactly.
Oh, he's
how it's
looking
gonna
into his crystal ball, y'all.
Yeah, not from this bill.
Well, you'll see the effects of the bill, this bill, probably starting within the next 2 to 3 months, as we get things, shovels in grounds and the ground, and people being told they're gonna be working on the following things, and things are gonna move. It is a bill that's paid out over a number of years. And so, but the biggest thing it does is give people you're gonna have people going, oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna be able to keep my job, or I'm gonna be able to get a job doing that, or I'm moving. So I can't tell you that any of that with persistence. If anybody can, then they ought to go into fortune telling. But it's going to be a provision, a bill that is going to have a profound impact over time. It's a little like, and I'll end with this.
Oh, will you?
When we first came to office, and a lot of
Oh, Kamala. He's referring to Kamala Harris, who's been standing there like a statue.
Not all me. I used to stand there and have to listen to the president. She's got to stand there and listen to the president, but she deserves an enormous amount of the credit. But here's the deal.
Wow.
When we came to office, we were told virtually by everybody, you can't get this economy moving. Remember when they told me there's no way I could get, 2 million shots a day into people's arms in the beginning. There's no way I get 200 million, so no way I could get the vaccine. There's no way. It's understandable. I'm not criticizing people who said that, because these things have never been done before. It's never happened before. And so we go to work. I agree, I am a congenital optimist, but it's because I really mean this. I have enormous faith
What the hell is a congenital?
in the
Isn't
ingenuity
it congenital like when
and the integrity of the
womb
American people.
as a baby?
I'm not joking.
What's going on?
I have enormous faith in them, because I'm convinced we're the most unique country in the world.
Oh, Jesus.
Not because we're all so smart and the rest, but because we're the only country that's organized based on an idea.
Oh, Jesus.
We really mean it. We haven't lived up to it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Basically, give everybody a shot.
Give everybody reparations.
And I really have faith in
Is
the
it racial
American
oppression? No.
people. I know we're divided. I know how mean it can get. And I
Mean?
know there are extremes
Dude,
on both ends.
we
that
lost
make it more
the
difficult
election.
than it's been in a long, long time.
We lost
But
Virginia.
I'm
Mean.
convinced, let the American people know that we're committed to enhancing their ability to make their way, all do better. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you all so much. Drop the American red, white, blue pom pom. There you go. Take that, bitches.
Cross Connection. You've been listening to President Joe Biden, flanked by Madam Vice President.
So I can bring up
victory lap just hours after the House passed a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure
I
bill
can bring up some
and
people
paved the
now.
way for Biden's ambitious social spending bill to be
This is
passed.
Tiffany.
later
She's
this
on
month, we expect.
MSNBC.
The infrastructure bill and a rule that will allow the passage of the now $1.75 trillion Build Back Better Act were passed in a
So I
flip
can
of
bring
midnight
Elijah
votes.
Joy for the Blacks.
First, the
Ryan for
bipartisan
the Blacks.
infrastructure bill, known as
Ryan
BIT,
for the
you probably heard
Blacks.
that term a lot.
Yeah, if you all can
was
click the
passed
link
with
at the top,
13
you all can
Republicans voting
click
yes,
this.
and 6
Me on the
members of
YouTubes as
squad
well as
voting
live.
no. Is now ready for Biden's signature. And then the rule
This
on
is-
Build Back Better, an ambitious social
I
spending
adore
bill
you.
on
Elijah
power
Joy
lines.
for the
Now
Blacks.
that bill is now on its way back to the Senate for further deliberations
know,
with leadership. hoping
build
for
it,
a final
burning up
by
the
Thanksgiving. Remember,
interwebs.
Senate is out
Let's just hear what she has to say real quick.
so no matter what happens,
If she says anything.
standstill until the Senate resumes. Joining me now, political strategist Lucy Caldwell, editor at large of the 19th.
All right, as soon as they're
MSNBC
done,
contributor,
anybody else who wants to come up and
former
blow hi,
Congressman,
I
MSNBC
see you,
political
Brian, so
analyst,
excited
Carlos
as
Cabello,
always.
and Dr. Jason Johnson, MSNBC political contributor and politics and
Corinne,
journalism
I know that you
professor
are
at
in
Morgan
policy,
State
so it'd be
University.
great to hear from you
Kick us
too.
off. Dr. Jason
I
Johnson.
see you, A. Wilson W, Love You
President
Black,
Biden said a lot there. There's a
interactive
lot in this
filmmaker.
bill, and I do think that we have to acknowledge
When,
that.
Elijah Joy?
You know, there's a lot here for pipes to replace pipes.
As soon as he started the press conference.
Particularly for folks in Benton Harbor, Michigan right now who are still
This is
without
fresh horse shit.
drinking water.
Very fresh. Yeah, it's still steaming. Heaping and steaming more shit. Yeah.
Jason, I'll tell you, in 2009, I remember the American Recovery.
So as soon as they're done with this segment as commercial, then I'll open it up and there's comments on the YouTube channel as well. So if you all want to see it and see me with my emoji pillow puppets show, you all can click that link there, critical race issues, that YouTube link to do that, and then we'll have Elijah Joy and whoever else wants to come on stage to have a conversation.
Slapping your name on something is a good way to get credit for it. Just ask Donald Trump, right? He put T's on everything and people thought he was rich. Barack Obama put his name on everything in the American Recovery Act. I specifically remember Highway 90 in Cleveland having, the Recovery Act on it, and that had a huge impact. Basically, people were thanking Barack Obama every single day. I think this policy will help the same way. I think what's important, though, is not just President Biden coming out and discussing the bill today, but also making sure, as he said in his speech, that Democrats go out and that they promote this and that they talk about it. And that whatever ends up coming forward, whatever ends up coming out of the Senate for the Build Back Better Act, that they promote what's in that bill and not what's out of it as well. This is a step in the right direction. This is what President.
He's a black expert, y'all. He's an expert on the blackness.
But he's got to make sure that he sells these
He's a
things
professor
and
at
sells
Morgan
them
State.
for what they're gonna do.
His name is
not the process
Jason.
that we had to get through to
They'll say
get
it in a
here,
second.
and that might end up being something successful for him, that he can head into the new year with the wind behind his back instead of being 6 feet under the polls.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, Jason. I want to bring you in, Congressman Cabello, because you saw what happened this week. Republicans overwhelmingly stuck with the party. Well, what's in this infrastructure bill? Which this will impact.
So again, on commercial, I have everybody up on top.
I don't know that Republican voters always prioritize.
And if you all want to see it, you all can click the link and you can see me, you can see the TV, you can see everything, you can see my puppets.
Will impact the Republican voting base when it comes to midterms as we go into 2022.
Tiffany, this will help the senators and congressmen who voted for the bill because, as you said, they're going to be able to go back home and point to specific projects and say, I made this happen. And I also think, though, that this will help the Biden-Harris administration more than anyone else. Remember, Joe Biden campaigned in 2020 as someone who had a long record of getting things done in Congress, as he just said during that press conference, working with Democrats and Republicans. I mean, he's celebrating a bill today that Mitch McConnell voted for. So this is a big deal for him when it comes to those swing voters, those centrist voters in key states like Virginia and others who end up deciding close elections, because this is specifically what they were looking for if Biden was going to deliver on this bipartisanship that he spoke about so much during the campaign.
That is the issue. Yes. And also his prostate.
He would also say
check
during
his prostate.
the day. So this is good for a lot of people in Congress, but the big winners today are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
That's the issue. I hear you, but I don't know that those voters in Virginia.
Again, thank you all so much for tuning in on the YouTube, so you all can see the TV and see my puppets. I have Allie the Ally, my white baby ally, white baby, and I have All Lives Matter Alma, that's a MAGA baby with her Confederate flag. They're going to war right now.
I mean, look, President Biden threw a little bit of shade at the press there when he said, look, I haven't seen any of you guys write about the.
Yeah, y'all heard that when Biden's throwing shade. I'm like, excuse me, oh man, fix your dentures. You know what I'm saying? Fix the adhesive.
There are times where I think the Beltway press talks
tighten up,
and for each
tighten up,
other,
Biden, tighten up.
Really speaking to the masses of the American people and explaining these things.
Oh,
being mired in the minutia.
You read him too. Thank you so much for that. I feel like we're like two correspondents reporting live with our own like dish on like ETV about the bullshit. Thank you so much for that, Elijah Joy.
As we go into another election cycle.
Well, no, Tiffany, I don't think that they really have that good of an
Indeed, it's an
understanding
issue.
of what is in either BIF or Build Back Better, which obviously is still very much taking shape, right? But now that BIF has passed, I think that once President Biden gets past kind of the symbolism of what last night meant, which I think he spent a lot of time today talking about. I mean, he didn't really talk about the supply chain issue until nearly the end of that, kind of half-hour press conference.
They ain't saying
But
nothing.
today was really about, to
Let me just hear her last thing.
the idea that, they were elected a year ago this week on that
Yes, they
message
were.
of unity and bipartisanship, both of which have been in very short supply for much of his first year in office. But
Losing
what has
a
also
year of
been in short
education,
supply
and
as this
Biden only called it one
infrastructure
semester.
and Build
Yeah,
Back
I
Better
caught that
conversation
issue.
has been going on is what is actually in the bill. The money for
Yeah, what
roads
is
and
in the
bridges and
bill?
major projects, the job creation.
Okay, so
is
if y'all are
going to
watching on
come
YouTube, you can
out of
see.
this.
I'll take a
Focus on,
picture of it.
things
What
like
is in this
clean
bill?
water and airports and broadband.
I'm gonna take a picture so we
These-
can read it out.
And that these things will help a lot of, frankly, the diverse coalition of Democrats who delivered the White House and Congress to this party a year ago. Many of those same voters have very much been looking to this administration to remember their priorities as this administration is governing. So while the president clearly remains committed to this sausage-making, deal-making, trust-based kind of collegial process that was the hallmark of his tenure, I think as he is.
Oh, is that what Yoko
going
Ono
out
did? I had no clue.
And Democrats are going out and telling people.
Almost everybody back. I mean, for a while, not anymore, but she did for like years.
Interesting. I had, again, I am not a social media person, so I have no idea about these things. But thank you so much for that. Yeah, follow everyone Black. So, let's have a quick little kiki here. Lorraine, if you can, for the Blacks, Brian, anyone else wants to come up on stage and blow pine on this Build Back Better? No, excuse me. This is the infrastructure bill. And really quickly, I'm just going to read out what it is, and then we can blunt to you. So, roads, bridges, and major projects, $110 billion. Adam Van Buren, who I adore, he's part of my Facebook Live tribe when I used to do my emoji pillow, Black Issues Made in America, silly shit show. This is before it also turned into the We're Blacker for the Blacks Black experience. Has stated here, I'm still on when he disrespected Kamala, telling her to just basically stand there and listen. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he did. He was like, oh, yeah, she's great, but, you're like me when I was vice president listening to Obama. I mean, he literally said that. So that's a comment there. I'm just going to read off all the money.
Today?
Yeah. Biden just said that, 10 minutes ago. He straight up said that. Yeah. He literally was like,
I think his old man brain it doesn't meet his mouth at the same. Like he wants to say certain things, but it doesn't come out right.
It's called couth. It's called decorum. It's called filter, and he has none. Discernment, zero. On the Richter scale, and it's just like earthquake. It's just like earth shattering what comes out of his mouth, and then he jokes around and and then he's surly and reading the reporters talking about, y'all haven't done a better job at messaging. What, dude? You fucking write the you write the press releases. How are you mad? This is ridiculous. Anyway, so passenger rail, 66 billion, public transit, 39 billion. So what is passenger rail really Amtrak? What? Maybe that's some lobbying by Amtrak there. And I looked. They better get Amtrak together every once in a while.
Well, Dr. Claude Anderson has, I don't know if you've been listening to a lot of his plan. A part of that was a Southern Beltway, basically, sort of a Black express line from all the Black cities in the South, starting in the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, all the way into Texas.
Ooh, breaking news.
So, I mean, it's actually, he wanted that, he put that in his plan, that he said that we should be demanding. And when you thought about it, it was like, oh, wow, well, he broke it down because it's a lot of us work in that little belt.
Yeah.
And travel back and forth through.
Back and forth.
And then I started to imagine what a food system would look like reimagined in that whole belt. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to basically
skyscrapers out of this motherfucker.
Yes. Yeah, because it could
So
be.
we don't have to fuck with y'all.
Yeah, because it could be rooftop gardens and farmland and Amtrak's. You know what I'm saying? Like travel and eat properly. Yeah, like actual utopia on Earth. Thank you so much.
And a real black infrastructure based on food. You
A
know,
blinfrastructure.
Blockchain, whether it's whatever it is, like we need, like you got to take it back to the basics. It's like I don't give a fuck what everybody else need. I just want to center around what we need. We need to be growing food, growing our own food systems and our own way to distribute that food to our people.
I love that, and a blagenda, right? That would be part of the blagenda. Elijah Joy for the blacks, right? Like black sustainability, right? What does that look like? What does that taste like, right?
Delicious.
Blindy and healthy.
Tastes like strawberries in June.
Blindy.
Juneteenth.
And it feels like, you know, not being constipated, not having diabetes and gout and all these other, you know, health issues. Flash your microphones, because of the food that we have and the environment that's constantly being toxic because they put bus depots in our community, you know, or we have what are called food deserts.
Liquor stores with chips and
malt liquor.
Whatever the cheap brand of Little Debbie's is with malt liquor, of course.
Shameful. And we talked about that last night, that we can be for those blacks, those old English 800s St. Ives drinking bottles and drains in a flask. You know what I'm saying? We could be for those blacks.
But maybe we could be for those blacks in a different kind of way, but we make our own motherfucking malt liquor. We make our own motherfucking shit. Like if we're gonna drink
organic,
let's fucking make it.
Yeah, like
let's
just
grow it. Let's make it.
Yeah, like cucumber cucumber juice malt liquor. Yeah.
Sweet potato. Malt liquor.
Yeah. I think we should go into business with that. Look at that. Stay tuned for that 2022. You know what I'm saying? Whole Foods malt liquor. We're going to be partnering with them, and it's just going to be right there in the grocery aisle. Or as Biden said during the press conference, he said agricultural products. I was like, Jesus. He said that.
Everybody was on this thing all night long. I'm looking at everybody I'm trying to ping. They're like, just got off 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago.
Oh, thank you. And they're all in there arguing back and forth about critical race theory. I'm like, do people really?
Where's that room? I didn't see that.
Oh my God. Hold on. Like, it's ridiculous. Hold on. I'm like juggling my emoji pillows and my dolls in my hand on the YouTube channel. Hey, Gray. Feel free to weigh in. I'm just gonna go into the hallway and read some of these rooms that like people literally have been like synchronizing watches. Like I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna go on stage. I'm gonna make this point about critical race theory. I'm gonna mention this article. Pin this article to the top of the room. This is Clubhouse. This is critical race theory. Stop it. And I'm just like, y'all really think that y'all are like gonna win the race war about critical race theory on Clubhouse? Like you're not. Like I'm like. That's why I don't go in those rooms anymore. It's just like, pearls is wine.
Say then, I'll just let you know that, you know, why we have to talk off camera. I'm pretty sure that we had confirmation from Nina Gregory that we will be testing out replay tomorrow on Respectfully.
Good, because
anyone who comes to the stage has to consent verbally and in a written way. So
for replay, yeah, I don't even know how to do clips. Every time I'm like, I said some important shit and I don't know how to.
Well, we gonna learn tomorrow.
That's why I just do YouTube now. I'm just like, you know what? Screw all of that. I'm just on YouTube. I want to be on TV anyway.
No, but what it'll be is that your show on Friday night or whenever you do it.
The Black Experience.
Yes, you'll be able to just package it and put it right on YouTube.
With the screenshots of the PTRs.
With the new replay. Yeah, I mean, you can have whatever kind of visuals you want, but I'm not sure exactly. Actually, I'm not sure what the replay will look like. I have to wait.
Issues.
I literally have to wait till tomorrow.
Clubhouse issues.
Like, the regular public is not having it, girl. This is a VIP invitation.
Oh, adore that. Yes. So Sunday, I will have to tune in. I'm trying to visit I don't listen. Life, y'all.
I put you on this show, so I want you to consent.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'll do that. I'm supposed to, my parents texted me, they want to see me today. My father, he's an avid user of the WhatsApp, and he doesn't know how to reply. And so he's recruited my brother to help him, and he wants me to come over there and also like help him. So I don't know how y'all Clubhouse people I have my parents. I there's clothes to wash. I'm like, damn, it's clients for diversity trainings that I do. I'm just like, how do y'all live? But yeah, so if I'll probably be able to make it, and it's just that like I'll be at my parents' house at the same time, and hopefully they won't hate me as I'm there. But yeah, so Black Issues is every Friday, and Elijah Joy, respectfully, the morning show is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Colored People Time, Eastern, indeed, yes. And then also right after the town hall on Clubhouse, there's respectfully the weekend review on Clubhouse. So I'll do that, and my parents will just hate me. But Black to the room titles here with the critical race theory, 2 white men talking about racism in education. That has 84 people right now, and a lot of blowers and influencers of the Black Issues experience and Black sports are in there. Patrick Williams is in there. Tamara Johnson is in there. Dr. Fanny, who was in the Black Experience last night for Black for the Blacks, she's in there. Dr. Ginger is in there. Simmer is in there. But I really Eric is in there. But I really think honestly, that like do it for shits and giggles. Don't do it to actually think that you're gonna make literally. You're either 1, tossing pearls to swine, or 2, you're in there like me because you're actually a content creator, and what you say or what someone says is going to inspire you to then write a book or create some content, like, you know what I'm saying, or do some satire. Like, I am not in there thinking what comes out of my mouth is going to end racism. Fuck no. Like, it's, so I get it, but I feel like people, get their dopamine rush and they get their adrenaline going and in these rooms about critical race theory and racism, and that's not how whiteness operates. Whiteness does not operate on fucking logic. So if you think you're going in there with logic, well, I got this article here, I got this fact here, here's a chart, you're wrong. Like what whiteness needs in order to make a decision or commandeer more power has absolutely nothing to do with reality, has absolutely nothing to do with common sense, has nothing to do with anything that is in integrity. So if you come there with your integrity and your fistful of fucking facts, I'm like, okay, but people are in there. But Adam, and then I'll get Black to anyone else on stage. Oh, Brian, if you can come up, and I want to hear from you, Gray. For the Blacks is so I have a character, Holly Hibiscus Elderflower. So the Black for the Blacks is only one of my characters. I have like over 20. And I need to start doing Holly. So Holly Hibiscus Elderflower would administer.
Are these characters or personalities asking for just to the back?
Damn it. Asking as a therapist is what you're saying. Elijah Joy for the Blacks, basically.
Look at Pagani in the picture with Evan. I just noticed that Pagani.
Oh my God! That's what's happening? Oh, this is so exciting. I guess y'all are here for the NFT conference. I need to figure that out. And Catherine, who hosts News, reached out to me to hang out with me today. So yeah, I gotta figure.
Do it. Definitely.
I gotta figure that out. But yeah, so my character, Elijah Joy for the Blacks. My character, Holly Hibiscus Elderflower, administers Metamucil meditations and anal lobotomies. Get rid of that shit. She like, what's in there? Like, what's in your colon? So we can add that Elijah Joy for the Blacks to the food infrastructure, that the food goes in, but then how does it get out, right? And so we need to have a pipeline to get the food waste out. Does that make sense, Elijah Joy?
Of course, because it's clogged with racism.
It is. The food system, we're backed up.
Like all of these systems.
Mm-hmm. We're constipated.
Broke this down. Like these systems are antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like beyond, like, you know, critical race theory has to do with, you know, racism in how it shows up in these systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like you just, okay, so it's like, all right, you don't want to believe it, but like these systems have been in place for like 100 years,
400 years,
70 years.
Yeah.
No, I mean like you know the supply chains for the food, you know, and all this 50 years. Like this shit is old.
Yeah, and
And
we
it's
need
based on racist, capitalist, white patriarchal models of old. They don't serve us anymore. They're not serving anybody at all. Not even the white masses who are starving as well. So
we need enemas. We need enemas for the blacks.
what's Evan talking about? What you talking about? Are you in New York still?
Well, actually, I'm in New Jersey.
That counts.
Came here for my sister's wedding and did a brief detour into New York City to meet up with Bligani and a number of other bleeple. And it was amazing. It was really, really sweet. NFTs are cool, I guess. That's actually not why I'm here. Bigani lives in New York, but couldn't resist getting together with her.
And Kadir.
Kadir showed up. So Kadir, I never met before in Clubhouse or in person, but he's a really sweetheart. Yes, Catherine, Bumani, Min, you know, here for the NFT business. So it was cool. It was fun.
Yeah, and yeah, because Catherine just hit me up. Are you around this weekend? My schedule's pretty packed, but maybe we could grab coffee. So I'm just gonna DM her my number, and you too, Evan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll meet you in Harlem.
In the Harlems, because if y'all are watching on YouTube, you could literally see my apartment right now. You can't really see the view that I have in the Harlems, but it is quite bizarre that.
You've been going hard since last night.
Oh, meaning like how do I sleep? I was trying to explain this to people because I am vegan. I have a lot of energy, so yeah, I was up to what 1 a.m, and then I was still up watching Fox News.
Was still up.
Yeah, and then I was watching.
Because I guess I was still in here, silent on stage.
Lindy and I Love You Black.
Shireen was in here. Shireen and I forgot who else was in here. It was me, Shireen, and Philip Eklund.
Yep.
Eklund.
Yep. And oh shoot, I'm sitting here trying to. This is weird. I'm trying to take a picture of the.
I love Mr. Philip. He's so amazing.
Oh, he's adorable. He's just like the sweetest and the best. But yeah. He's no joke. And so I didn't go to bed till like 3 or 4 in the morning. I was watching Fox, and then I'm still up. I woke up at 7:40. No. Even that, I woke up before sunrise. I woke up at 7:22, and then I went on the roof to look at the sunrise. Mm-hmm. No, I got energy.
Absolutely.
I got Blenergy, y'all. I got Blenergy for Blaze. Indeed, yes. Because like I'm like, yo, if this racial revolution and this zombie apocalypse
What are your Thanksgiving plans, by the way?
is happening, I'm ready to go. Hold on. I'm just gonna say with Adam, and then I'll share what my Thanksgiving plans are. Holly hibiscus elderflower can administer enemas for everyone. I think that we need to build back better, right? And to flush that shit out. So again, something about the pipeline for the bullshit here. For those of you who are watching on the YouTube, I'm going to hold on. Where is it? Where's my? I'm going to share with you all yet again. That was not me farting. That was my stool that I moved on the floor here. Oh, there it goes. My poop emoji pillow. There you go. So poop. So I predict that.
I really want to flesh that out, by the way, about how the food system is clogged with racism.
It is. It's really clogged with racism.
Sexism. And
homophobia, transphobia, all of it.
And I want to flesh that out with you and Queen Afua.
Oh, indeed, yes. Yeah, full of shit. And, I'm going to already declare that 2022 is the year of the poop. It's the year of the poop. So definitely let's do some content around that. And speaking of poop and content, for Thanksgiving, we're Black of all the Blacks. I'm gonna be with my parents. My parents live in Teaneck, New Jersey. And I'm gonna visit them because I adore them, and they're actually coming to visit me. They're coming because I can't visit them. I feel so bad, by the way, because it's like I'm
Do you
on.
know Lenny White?
No,
Jazz
who's
drummer?
who's
He
Lenny
lives in
White?
Teaneck.
Oh, wow. Maybe my parents
He used
do.
to play with Miles Davis,
Fancy.
Michelle Corral,
Fan-
all the things.
Dope. I have no idea. No. My parents moved me to Teaneck, New Jersey. They uprooted the tree that grew in Brooklyn, which was Canadian holder, when I was 16 years old. And so I resented every millisecond of Teaneck.
Hilarious. That's like me. Oh my God. I can only imagine. You're like, these commoners. What are they gonna do?
Yeah, like, when you go Brooklyn, I'm from Brooklyn, okay? Like, because, all the hip hop back then was like, Mary J. Blige. Everybody was like, go. I'm like, Mary J. Blige, you're from Yonkers. You're not from but everyone was like, go Brooklyn. And I was like, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, and you are driving a Volkswagen Jetta with a sunroof. I'm from Brooklyn. I was see. Foxy Brown translation and Little Kim, for those of you who don't know. And now, if you don't know, now you know.
And what I learned is that she was secretly underage. While she was out here being Foxy, she was like 16, 17.
Yeah, that's your boy Jay-Z.
Old ass man.
Yeah, that's your boy Jay-Z.
Huh?
That's your boy Jay-Z. I said it now a fifth time.
Not my boy. But it's crazy because it's like, it's amazing what, well, I guess you would say a generation of understanding has done. You know what I mean? Somebody like her could never really exist right now. A 16, 17-year-old faking it, playing the vixen like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking all this shit she was talking. I think Lil' Kim was probably underage too.
Yes. Because again, like that was the era, the blera, indeed, of Aaliyah. And so absolutely. So we were growing up with these like Aaliyah's underage, like R. Kelly married her, and it would just be like this thing, like, oh, okay. And I mean, like, think about it, like, there's no way that Michael Jackson could come out, who's bad, 50 shades lighter, okay, 50 shades of lighter, okay. Right? And everyone was just like, okay, right? Like, we didn't lose our shits because he literally was like a white man dancing in a New York subway, a la West Side Story, with chain belts and like tight black leather.
Mulatto at that face. He was kind of Puerto Rican.
Yeah, that was really commitment to character. So I think back then we weren't really into celebrity culture. It was just like a thing. It was like, oh, okay. It didn't, it's not like now where like everyone's dragging each other on Twitter over any little. What did I hear? There was some Instagram, influencer. She was like 22. No, she was a singer. I can't remember right now. Imani Johnson, I think her name is. And she died in a car crash. And the rapper, filled with face tattoos all over his face, thank you, who she dated for a little while, I guess he didn't say RIP fast enough and then posted something else instead that was not RIP. So then they like troll that Black and Urgent, Blurgent, troll the hell out of him. Like, how dare you? You don't love her. Like, don't you know she died? RIP. And I'm just like, whoa, like, so like, imagine if Michael Jackson came out 50 Shades Lighter now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't, like, imagine if, all of the rumors about R. Kelly dating Aaliyah underage came out now. Like, imagine if we knew that, Foxy Brown, Il Nana, you know what I'm saying? Like, was underage. Like, it's just a totally different world.
Well, I mean, it gives you more context, because people are like, why the hell she did that to her face? But trauma-informed care shows you, like, what happened. What happened? What happened to her?
What had happened was, and it's an issue. And I see we have KJ here. KJ, I'm following you, so I'm excited to have you on the stage. we were talking about the Biden critical race theory infrastructure bill and no reparations, and then it devolved into other issues, including Little Kim being Little Kim and really specifically Foxy Brown being underage, represented and doing duets with Jay-Z.
Hey, I feel like I haven't seen you in 1,020 years.
Feeling it.
I have been around for some time. What are my feelings on this bill, this infrastructure bill? I don't know. There's certain things that I still just can't reckon with. Like, I can't reckon with the fact that restaurants have shelters outside and people are still homeless on the streets of New York City.
Ooh.
I can't reckon with the healthcare in this nation. I can't reckon with the capitalist demon machine known as the United States of America. Like, it's just Biden is doing these things that I think are just guys with a neoliberal agenda that will just become super bureaucratic. And then after this money, there'll still be no money. You know, like, that's the vibe I'm getting. But I haven't spent that much time looking at the bill. I remember, like, a couple of weeks ago, there was this sort of, like, divide on the bill and infrastructure. I mean, I don't know, like, no reparations included in that?
Lindy.
Like, no, yeah, it's just, like, it's just real democratic. It's real Democrats, it's real neoliberal, Northeast, you know, let me smile, stab you in the back type shit.
With a suit on.
With a suit on.
Why am I the only optimistic one, though? Because the thing is...
Are you optimistic, but are you optimistic? Are you optimistic about the blacks, though?
I'm optimistic right now because the thing is, like, I see this in sort of, I don't know, like, I feel like nobody knows what the job of presidency is until you actually get there, right? So it's this, like, rocket ship, you know, airplane, house, times 1,000, moving at, you know, in numerous directions, firing on all cylinders. You know, there's so much going on, and then you get there, right? And so then you're...
So hold on, because I hear you being optimistic.
This is just the human side of it, right? So I look at it from this.
So hold on, the life choice for the blacks. Hold on, I want to hear what's his name, Roland Martin, and then I'll come right back to you, just because he's going to quit.
Roland Martin.
He was going to simply win the election, didn't do the work.
So we'll hear him, and then we'll go back to you.
This was the margin of victory. 72,000 votes. So for all of these people who said, oh my God, it was a massive blowout, Democrats got killed, it was a margin of 72,000 votes. If you had a better campaign, he wins.
Yeah. You know, well, you make a really good point.
Because you see, you know social media better than I do. I'm just sitting here.
Very popular. A lot of black folks watch the television show. And so it's always striking to me how candidates will leapfrog over spaces where voters listen, because it seems they're constantly trying to center white people, white voters, these independent voters. When you're talking to the base, so the blue people.
So that's what we're just talking about right now. And also KJ about how they just center whiteness and don't really actually do anything.
Opinion on this point he makes. Listen, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
What wrong is this stupid wokeness?
Wokeness.
Don't just look at Virginia and New Jersey. Look at Long Island. Look at Buffalo. Look at Minneapolis. Even look at Seattle.
Basically, the whites.
I mean, just defund the police. Lunacy. Just take Abraham Lincoln's name off the schools. Some of these people need to go to a woke detox center or something. I mean, they're expressing a language that people just don't use, and there's a backlash and a frustration at that.
So I'm going to try to be really fair here, because I do think that he makes the point. There are people all across this country who are uncomfortable with what he's calling woke speak. However, who cares? You know, who is going to prioritize somebody else's discomfort over our equality? And what it sounds to me like he's saying is, let's not make the white folks too uncomfortable. Lynn, what's your take here?
And continue to have the blacks be blunt.
I'm just going to say this, Roland. I can listen to you speak all day. I really could. I have so many thoughts on Virginia, on this past Tuesday's results. I mean, and I'm just going to say this, Tiffany. There are times when I truly feel like the Democratic Party, we sometimes organize better against the left than we have against the GOP, right? Like, we got to recognize that. And I mean, we've seen this so many times in post-election night, narrative results, us analyzing this for days. But I mean, Republicans, they are so good at
They are.
emotion
Messaging.
and
Yes.
starting these cultural wars. And Democrats, us, and like
They
I've
suck.
been on the ground in Virginia. You know, we try to ignore this and we try to run a policy. You know, and sometimes we gotta take the L and we gotta own it. And that's where I feel like we're going to struggle going into midterms next year. We're going to struggle going into 2024. But as Roland mentioned, I mean, we are really forgetting who we are, and that is just like so much concern for me.
You know, I have to say, I don't think it was a total loss for the Democratic Party this election cycle. I think that's the media narrative.
Oh yeah,
However,
I have
think
too.
Democrats had some historic wins. There were a lot of historic firsts that came out last week. You've got Michelle Wu, first woman and woman of color, elected to be Boston's mayor. Pittsburgh got their first black mayor. Cincinnati, first API mayor. And you got Eric Adams in New York City, second mayor.
Eric Adams.
I'm not going to tout.
So they got some first blacks, y'all. They got some first blacks.
Particularly these MAGA crowd of white folks.
I
Who
can't stand Eric Adams.
who makes them comfortable, but they are not an authentic voice of the community.
You go sell
and people
out.
want to tout
You go
that
sell
they're a
out New York
diversity
City. Just give them 10
candidate.
seconds.
We see you. We don't buy that. But just to your point, or to Lynn's point, look, I think there are some challenges around, you know, speaking this highbrow intellectual speak sometimes. But it wasn't totally bad. I think that is mostly a media narrative. But what's your take here?
I couldn't agree more, Tiffany. We saw that there were hundreds of wins all around the country. My husband is the co-founder of Run for Something, and they saw incredible, amazing, young, diverse, fabulous candidates at the municipal level.
But it's what you were talking about, KJ, about the Northeast corridor.
Because at Karen Action, we have a really clear playbook. Let's have exciting candidates who represent the community that they live in. Let's have them run on the issues that really matter to the people in that community, and let's have them
Minneapolis didn't pass
defund the police. All of the people in that community, not just the ones who are frequent voters on the voter rolls. When we do that, we win elections all over the country, even in so-called tough districts or red districts or swing voters. When we don't do that, when we insist on going with a playbook, frankly, the playbook that James Harbaugh made, I don't know.
We need better slogans.
Yep.
So, because defund the police doesn't actually state what we actually
No.
need.
And I always had an issue with it. Like I used to do Facebook, like I said, before I'm doing Clubhouse, I used to do Facebook Lives literally every day. Every single day when people were losing their minds because of COVID, because of George Floyd, everything, I would do Facebook Lives. You could pull them all up because they're all still on there. And I never was like, defund the police. Never. I was like, no, it's not going to work because y'all go sit there and be like, oh, defund the police. And I was like, we're going to go from mothers having blurgent tear-filled press conferences about the cops killing their sons. And then now, because y'all want to not have police, you're going to have press conferences with mothers crying because of gun violence, because of gangs, right? And that's not to say that I love the cops. I don't. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that, we need the police in that way. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is irrefutable because it's happening, right? So again, for me, that's why I do Black issues. There's so many issues. What is the solution, right? The solution isn't necessarily fuck the cops. You know what I'm saying? We wish it could be fuck the cops. Unfortunately, the cops are racist, and we also have issues because of 400 years of racial oppression, including baked in self-hatred issues. So then here comes the cops to keep us safe from ourselves. So there's a lot going on. But the slogan, like you said, Elijah Joy for the Blacks, of defund the police, didn't miss the mark in every way, shape, or form. It's what's called
we suck with the languaging. We really do. Like, they have all kinds of names for us that stick, and we never had any kind of fun names for Trump or any of this experience that really stuck. Like, it's like they sit and they think about the shit that's gonna be hot for them.
Yeah,
Make
America great again. Boom. Who's gonna say no to that? You know what I'm saying? In an apolitical world, people are like, yeah, make America great again. Like, who would say no to that? Right? Right? Like,
I think Trump's election was actually, it was way more methodical than I think people want to admit because it's still shrouded in how it happened. Trump got elected really in part due to the meme community, Reddit community, 4chan, which became just like a hotbed of neo-Nazi recruitment, actually. Even if Trump himself is not a neo-Nazi, he was totally in full collusion with this new, group of disenfranchised young white males who were seeking, some sort of subcenturing, right? Because of the white lash after the Barack Obama presidency.
Which also had a social media currency assisting, his rise. He was Twitter.
Yeah, but also like the people on social media. I mean, like even like Gavin McInnes, who is like the founder of the Proud Boys, started Vice Media.
Yes.
And I remember him like back in the day. He was just like a pretty anti-black, hipster white guy. But if you really think about it, the ways that certain white, like young white men got indoctrinated in the whole Trump theory and like the alt-right theory really had to deal with standard neo-Nazi recruitment. So I do think that Make America Great Again is really just like back to Reagan, like family values. It's inherently white supremacist.
Yep.
It's just it really is, and the people who believe it are just like either ignorant or just don't have enough information to understand how this was an Edward Bernays style propaganda machine that just succeeded. It was standard marketing practice. Other than that, I don't know, with Biden or not the cops, like defund the police and defund the cops, I would really just say that, the conditions of a lot of these people's lives who actually enact these heinous crimes in our community, if that was actually changed and people weren't always living in survival mode,
yep,
I don't think there would be as much crime.
Yep.
And that's why there's not as much, there is crime. There is crime, but the crime is not. There is heinous crime in white communities. I mean, there's like things that happen that like what just happened with that girl who got killed. Serial killers. And I have my own critique of that, but it's not out of desperation. It's out of psychosis.
Yes. Total sense. If I can super fast to Blixpan your thoughts. There are two young white boys, okay? I don't remember what state they're in, but this is just like breaking news as of yesterday. They killed their Spanish teacher. They just straight up killed her. I don't remember what TV show, cartoon, whatever, that they were replicating, Suicide Squad or something. And I mean, they're like 14 years old. They're like high school kids. And they chopped her up in the parking lot. It was some weird, it's like, what? And then she was missing. And then the only reason why they figured it out that it was them was because they talked about it on like Snapchat. And one of the kids ratted them out. Like, how hard is your life as a 14-year-old white boy that this is, so what you're saying about psychosis, you know what I'm saying? Like continue, but like, I just wanted to mention that because it's exactly what you're talking about in terms of psychosis. Like, why are white men rebelling? Like, why are white men so fucking angry? Like, can you point to me the reason for your rage? Like, can you?
I consider myself an expert in white men.
Ooh.
I consider myself an expert in because I work in, I work in art. I have to spend a lot of time with like self-entitled white men, and I see how they move. And I mean, I think it's just having that amount of power without knowing why you have that amount of power just creates psychosis, and weird things start happening. So the way that like rage is enacted, the way that they navigate life, how they fall into all these different subgroups, or they position themselves in all these other marginalized groups, like dibbling and dabbling and all kinds of different nefarious ways, from drug use to sex work to or procuring sex work to even their financial dealings or projects that they want to start. What I think really is going on is an inability to understand how fragile their existence is in relationship to like cis hetero white supremacy. So if you are in constant defense of who you are, you're going to find really strange, and I might be a little bit confusing when I say this, but you will find very weird ways to enact that power, and it can be even just playing in front of people's faces, you know? And that's what I've witnessed with white men. And then the whole like shooting, right? Like a lot of these, Elliot, I forgot his name, Elliot was in San Diego. He shot all these women on the street. His manifesto basically said, hey, all these young white women are for me. Why are they with these black men? You know, like he's sitting there and he's just like, I was taught my whole life that women were being just given to me, and now I have to work for sex, and no one wants to have sex with me. You know what? I'm just gonna kill everybody. Like that's how arrogant, you know, that shit is, and it's the same rationale for why Trump was put in office.
Yeah, with the 4chan and the 8chan. Yep, that started QAnon. This is a bunch of Revenge of the Nerd rejects that can't actually navigate in society, you know, who they are, you know, intellectually, sexually, and all that pent up frustration. You're like, yeah, you know, and it metastasizes into these like diabolical take over the world. You know what I'm saying? Like psychopath, like
an origin story.
Yeah.
It's like I can't get laid.
Yep.
I can't get laid.
Look at Zuckerberg.
Or I can't be gay. You know, because if I'm gay, then I have no power. I can't be a martialized body. You know, like all this shit. It's really just villain origin story shit.
I love it. I adore this, KJ, and it's look at Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg's the same thing. Like how the hell did he start Facebook? He was like, fuck that. All these girls who, you know, I'm gonna rate these girls and see how hot they are, and because none of them want to date me right now, but I'm gonna create a database. Like that's how Facebook started. By like adolescent pent up sexual aggression angst. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And if Facebook was a country, it would be the biggest country on the planet, right? And has weaponized and caused genocides and elections to be stolen. Like, huh? From some white boy.
When women can't get laid, what they do is they go get crystals and incense and talk about self-love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do. Or we get a new lip gloss. You know, we go get some we get some Fenty.
Watch a TV show.
Yeah.
These guys is like mass shooting.
I mean, if we're really going all out, you know what I'm saying? If we're really living on the wild side, we might get a new pair of like fake eyelashes. You know what I'm saying? Like the really long ones. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We might get a tight skirt with a slit. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know, we weaponize our beauty. You know what I'm saying? But we're not trying to tear down society to get black at like one person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't say who they are, but they're like a big drug, or they used to be part of like one of the biggest. I mean, I can say it because like he says it all the time. He has articles about it. So, damn, I can't even remember his name right now. Sheedy, and he used to be on Clubhouse. I don't know if he's on anymore, but he was a part of Freeway. He was like the secondhand man for. Thank you all so much for watching on YouTube. Just so that you all know. Yeah. I'll talk about this in a second. So those of you, thank you all so much for watching. You all can also watch me live on YouTube because I have my puppets and I have my dolls. I have a whole other visual aspect to myself. So the YouTube link is at the top there, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But so Freeway, you know, the with Freeway, Rick Ross, all of that. So Sheedy apparently was like the finance man, the ringleader, or the COO or whatever of Freeway Drug Enterprises. And he told me why he started to do that. He said he was dating some girl that he adored. He was just like, oh my God, I love her. And they both went down south or wherever they went for the summer to visit, their cousins and them, right? And then he said she came black and he came black. And she was like, oh no, I'm not going to date you anymore. I'm going to date this other person. And then after that, soon after that, he was like, what do you mean? Because like after that was like last semester before they went to college. And he was like, fuck that. I can't have these bitches. I can't have these girls telling me no. And he was like, what can I, he was like, I was a straight A student. He said that he was like a really good student, was doing the best he could and was being a good stand-up guy. And he was like, I'm being this good guy and like this girl still rejected me that I really love. Fuck that. Well, I'm gonna show her. Yeah, I'm gonna show her. And he teamed up with whoever the hell else was teaming up to sit there and take the drugs that Reagan was pumping through the Black community and started Freeway. So KJ, what you're saying is exactly, you're right. Like what? Like because this woman reject what? Like, or I mean, again, not to be heteronormative, but like, how do you transmute your pain, right? Like, do you transmute your pain into power, or do you hurt everyone within, you know, your locus of control? You know what I'm saying? Which is like your family, your friends, but then people like, you know, Zuckerberg, you know what I'm saying, tear down the whole world with them, you know, and it is something like you said, KJ, about whiteness and white men and what they do. I adore this. And I also see Amp is here. I'm going to follow you, Black. I apologize. I am like horrible with social media. I'm just like in my head all the time and or whatever. So I adore all of you and I'm following you all, Black. Just, you know, have patience because my brain is everywhere.
Can I speak to this if that's okay?
Yeah. I adore that. And KJ, stick around for a little while. I'll be on for like another like 10 minutes and then I have to go wash my Black ass and, you know, get my day started. But really excited to hear from you. KJ's hilarious. I love you, Black. I'm really excited to hear from you, Amp. What's good? Critical race theory. White men, white.
Y'all doing great. I call myself a Pan-Africanist, a socialist, and I agree with it.
Uhuru.
Thank you so much. I hope y'all are doing so well today. This Saturday morning. I live in Florida, so I also consider myself to be a little bit of an expert of white men. The only I agree with you fully. The only part I would push back is that they don't know how they got the power. And I think that relates to why they're so able to freely and nonchalantly be able to, I guess, apply themselves to a phrase like, let's build America great again, right? And I think that's the key, right? When we bring up phrases like that, that points to the oppression, the discrimination, the mass incarceration, so on and so forth, right? And that's why I think the Democrats were able to put Biden opposing Trump, because he is the flip side of law and order, if you will, right? So I really would only push back because they don't know why they're doing it. They know why they're doing it. They're trying to reclaim their power.
Yeah.
By any means necessary, right? I'm disgusted by white men living in Florida. It's absurd. We've had so many in our biggest cities. I'm not a Democrat, but we are moving through trying to attempt progressive actions and progressive bills and progressive politics, and it keeps being stunted by the alt-white, right? And I like to say the alt-white because very rarely do I see a Black person or a minority speaking all of their racist tropes, right? So
well, if I can, Amp, if I can, in my room, we say white because whiteness whips around the world with colonialism and racism. So we put the little aspiration in there because they're so always aspiring to take over more, right? So whiteness. Can you try that? Let me hear. Amp for the Blacks. White. Where you at? Oh no, you can't be a Black man in America and then just go on mute. Are you okay? Did the feds get you? COINTELPRO, bro?
I'm sorry, my phone is actually reminding me.
Are you still there?
In like 5 minutes. Yeah.
R.I.P. Fred Hampton. Don't do that to another Black man.
I'm sorry, the whites.
It's an issue.
But I totally agree with y'all.
Got it with a white man. Yeah, we got scared. You can't be doing that. Can't be doing that. Yo, my blood pressure went up, and for those of you who are watching on the YouTubes, y'all saw it. Like literally, I you know what I'm saying? I might need some Grey Goose. It was an issue. It was but I'm glad you're Black, Am. I'm glad you're Black. I'm glad that you're down there in the Floridas with the palm trees and the gators and your blend sites about the agenda of the white man. Thank you so much for that. We need you down there with the Uhuru and the Black Lives Matter and the fist up and the pro-blackness and the Pan-Africanisms too? Is that it too?
Yes, I am.
You anti-capitalist as well? You one of them blacks?
Oh, always.
Burn it down black? You wanted to burn it down blacks?
Yes,
Okay.
always.
But with frankincense, incense, burn it down with frankincense?
Anti-imperialistic as well.
Okay, anti-imperialism. Okay.
Can I answer, Jack?
Oh, indeed, yes. Oh, this is going to be exciting. KJ, strap in. Strap on your seatbelts. And I see you, Paula, Nadine, Bella for the blacks, and Brian for the blacks. What's good, Chris?
How you doing? I'm from.
Are you for the blacks?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Blindy.
I am fully for the blacks.
Okay. Let's see.
And I'd like to say I appreciate the community you've created here, and I study comparative politics.
Ooh.
And, yeah, what I've noticed recently is if you look at voting patterns, if you look at demographics, if you look at counties in particular, the majority of counties like New York City, for example, counties within New York City, Florida, you notice that a lot of these counties, they vote democratic. Sorry, I'm a little shy, but they vote democratic, and if you look at like the suburbs, if you look at where the majority of white people reside, right, people who lean right, you see that they white.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Lindy.
You see that they vote Republican, but if you take that even further, you see that a majority of unemployment rates are there. You see that a majority of manufacturing rates are there. Manufacturing jobs were lost there, and a lot of people, they want to reclaim this like old fame, that was built on like bullshit, that was built on the exploitation of black people, and they don't really understand this, and on top of that, in cohesion with media, they push this, they don't really encounter immigrants. The majority of immigrants are actually in the cities, and that's where the majority of jobs are found. So it's very easy for the media to exploit these
issues.
Right-leaning white people, these right-leaning white people who are undergoing a lot of unemployment due to loss of manufacturing jobs, warehouse jobs, when they have no encounter with immigrants, blacks, they have no encounter with anything but themselves and their bubble of ideas. And it happened in Germany, it happened in Italy. Germany recently got a neo-Nazi party in 2014, right before Trump, and the same demographics, low unemployment rate, lack of immigrants, and Italy too. So it's not a common occurrence just in America. It's a common occurrence in like a majority of the world, where people like feel that they can contribute, like white people in particular can attribute a lot of their unemployment to these immigrants, when in reality they don't really encounter them or black people.
And so they're kind of operating, I thank you so much for that. So they're kind of operating in intellectual isolation is basically what you're saying, right? So all of these policies that they vote against, right? Which is also voting against their own interests, right? Like healthcare, bridges, roads would also help white people, because there's poor white people, you know what I'm saying? Like, in Appalachia, in Virginia, but they're operating in this intellectual isolationism, right? Whereby these issues are then weaponized as being black issues. So then they automatically are like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. No, we can't have that policy, right? That's what they did with Obamacare. Like, you have no teeth. And here you are on CNN yelling, I don't want no Obamacare. I'm like, but have you checked? Have you done a colon screening? Aren't you like, did you get a mammogram?
Yeah.
But all you can think about is this Obamacare, because it's not about education. It's not about healthcare. It's about racism.
Well, they also die happy knowing that. You know what I mean? Like, if your whole existence is predicated on the fact that you are not black, you find solace and happiness in that, and so even you are kind of mesmerized, or you're believing in a delusion. And I think that, again, this dude Edward Bernays, Like,
yes, can you talk about that? Because I think
oh my God.
I know, but I think a lot of people don't. The father of public relations.
Yo, this dude is crazy. I mean, for me, first of all, he was Freud's nephew.
Yep.
That's one thing. So that gives you like some idea of like where he got these theories from. My favorite thing is when Edward Bernays was representing Al Jolson in the NAACP at the same time. I mean, that trick was phenomenal. He was like,
wicked.
He was like, I'm representing a vaudevillian blackface performer and also a organization to empower and better the lives of colored people in this nation. I mean, it's pretty fucking hilarious. And I mean, we should do a room about this.
Yeah.
I've been really trying to like break this down, but it's something about chaos magic and what was happening in like the turn of the century with like esoteric kind of
in the early 1900s. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the early 1900s, where people like Aleister Crowley, they were like even Lovecraft, like they were formulating these theories, and then for them it's called manifesting, right?
Yes.
Or like, but for me it's like this is the perfect like kind of Houdini style trick, like shifting the minds of people.
The technology.
I believe that's what white supremacy does. Is actually chaos magic.
Yes.
And so like for me, Edward Bernays is definitely like his strategies have been used to continue this massive fallacy. And it's what I think is so interesting is that in like the for instance, like in the 1700s, the 1800s, like race, you actually could get really like race wasn't as stringent. I realized like race wasn't as like one droppy as people think it was. You could definitely go through like class kind of determine more like where someone lied, but something about the turn of the century or like post Reconstruction,
After Birth of a Nation.
After Birth of a Nation, where it's like everything became way more stringent, and then Jim Crow and segregation, and so like we're in a quote unquote post Jim Crow, a post segregation era and integration, and it just seems like shit is gotten more motherfucking racist.
Mm-hmm. Black to normal. That's what I call it. Black to normal.
Back to normal. It's like way more racist. I don't know. That's my feelings on Edward Bernays. I mean, I didn't want to go too deep into it because I feel like that could like take up a lot of time. But the dude is just he's a magician. Like he's literally, that's all you can say. It's like the dude was a magician. He was able to like make blackface okay for people. He was able to be like Al Jolson's cool because like he donated all this money to the NAACP, and not only did he donate money to the NAACP, but the NAACP is also my client right now, so I'm getting paid twice.
And you get over it, right? Mm-hmm.
Get over it, yeah. Wild.
Yeah, I see. Amp wants to come in. I'm just gonna share one last thing about Amp, was this gonna be specifically about Edward Bernays or something else?
No, I was just gonna make the correlation between how everybody that's an alt-right or alt-white
white.
That white, that formation, that direction usually takes a page from America's racist handbook.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So I totally agree.
Yeah. South Africa apartheid. They researched how they researched Jim Crow. They got inspiration from Jim Crow. So Edward Bernays is a father. I see. There's another hand that was raised. Hey, Carrie. Come on. Edward Bernays is the father of PR, and like KJ mentioned, he was the nephew of Freud, and one of the other things he did, I didn't know about the whole representing. I mean, I'm always honest what I know and what I don't know. I think that's like the sign of like a very intelligent person, that they're not so in their feelings and being performative about I'm so smart. Like, no, I didn't know about the Jolson. I'm like, oh God, I gotta look that up. So another case study with Edward Bernays is Virginia Slim. So at the time, it was deemed gendered. Only men can smoke. And if you were a woman who smoked, that was considered not to be feminine. And that was like very, very important back then, that women needed to be very dainty and delicate. And, you know, cigarettes were considered, if a woman did it, as like manly, like what's wrong with you? Thank you all so much for those of you who are watching me on the YouTube. You can click the link there to see me live. And I see you, Mama Do. Love you all, Black. And so cigarette companies were like, hey, wait a minute, like we're losing money here. There's a half of society not only doesn't smoke cigarettes, but we shame them into not smoking cigarettes. But like we could make so much more money if we could just convince women to smoke cigarettes. So Edward Bernays, I guess, was contracted by Virginia Slim. What is it? You you have a long way to go, baby. Like whatever the slogan was, I can't remember right now, like the whole thing, but it was like, you have a long way to go, baby, something like that. And so they got models, right, to pose in suits and to have, you know, the cigarette and to make the cigarette look sexy.
Can I sing the jingle? I have a full musical memory.
Oh, go do it, B.
You come a long way, baby, to get where you got to today. You got your own cigarette now, baby. You come a long, long way.
Wow.
I have a musical photographic memory.
Wow. And so you hear, and thank you so much for that, right? So like you hear how happy and victorious it sounds, like, yeah, you know, and it sounds like, let's go, women, like, just do this thing, like, yeah, and we're, you know, we're saving you, and this is freedom. They were called freedom sticks. Edward Bernays rebranded cigarettes and called them freedom sticks. That's how he was.
Insidious, right?
I'm sorry?
That's super insidious.
Super insidious.
I'm just, you know, Googling a little bit more, but
freedom sticks.
Basically, called freedom sticks and also torches of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of used as part of like first wave feminism. So
yep.
It was used as like this kind of
to empower women.
Like to empower women. And so these tricks that this dude had are literally happening in real time with us, especially during George Floyd. I was like really taken aback by how so many, I mean, I work in art. Well, you know this, like how so many white male gallery owners were getting right up to the New York Times saying how they were diverse and how they were there, you know, after George Floyd. It's just like, how did you get a New York Times
right
about how you are diversifying the art world when you are a white male?
White boy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing when they have the hosts of the Emmys or the Oscars and they have Jimmy Kimmel or whoever it is and they're like, oh, you know, Oscar's so white and here I am, a white man on stage. So get the fuck off the stage. Like, it's not enough to just say the shit. You know what I'm saying? And they feel like, well, look, here's another crumb. Now we're doing the crumb of acknowledging our racist shit. I don't give a fuck about that fucking crumb. I'm hungry, okay? They're wanting the whole thing, right? But that's the long game, right? It's just like, well, now we're gonna satiate you on overstating the obvious, but we never even admitted to it. But now we're gonna play the game of we're gonna admit to it, and you're gonna get all excited because now we can sit there and say we're for the blacks. That's why I do. That's why I say for the blacks. I'm a blacker for the blacks. You know, KJ for the blacks, B for the black, like, because it's a joke. That's another 50 years now we're going to add to the timeline where they're all going to sit there and say, well, look, you know, we're for the blacks. Like, look, we had the black square on social media. Like, look, we're for the blacks. Like we didn't say it before, but now we're going to say it. We said it. We're for the blacks. And so that, yeah, the symbolism, right? The Juneteenth holiday, but no reparations, right? The Juneteenth holiday, but no George Floyd and Justice and Policing Act. The Juneteenth holiday, but no John Lewis Voter Rights Act. Come on now.
Talk about it.
That becomes the new wave of satiation, you know what I'm saying? Crumb off the table of justice, you know, they'll be fine. They'll be fine for another 50 years. Add another 50 plus years to the timeline. So that's why when I look at these rooms on Clubhouse and I'm just like, what, like, okay, like, why? Why are black people on Clubhouse fucking doing these ADOS rooms? Dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? These fighting rooms, the dark side. Like, do you know how dumb that looks to other people? Like, do we not have Blurgent? so I have, for those of you who are new to the Black History Judicial Experience, I have like a whole lexicon where I talk about Blackness.
That was easy.
You know what I'm saying? To sit there and make that shit clear. I'm so silly. You know what I'm saying? So y'all, we are on Clubhouse ripping each other to shreds on Clubhouse, right? But they got these plans out 50 years ahead, right? We're reacting to Manchin now. Manchin planned and figured out that he was going to run and what he was going to run on. And the fact that he was going to obstruct. How long ago? Cinema, if you Google cinema used to be fucking like green hair, raging liberal, bisexual, save the trees, love who you want to love. That's who cinema used to be. So they got plans on plans, right? They have an agenda. Do we have a blood agenda, and are we sticking to it? To me, because it's like KJ saying in terms of like Edward Bernays, they're, Steve Bannon, right? They're diabolical people that already have this shit on lock. So whatever we think that we're reacting to now, think about what's happening. Like what I say is what we don't know that we don't know about racism is way worse than you can possibly think and imagine. So whatever we see and whatever we know, we're reacting to in the moment, but that shit is 20 years in the making. So right now it's Kim Kardashian dating Pete Davidson. Mm-hmm. Right now it's whatever this Build Back Better plan is or isn't going to be. Mm-hmm. But we don't know in the future some other shit. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh my God, Trump is president. Yeah, like Trump's been planning to become president for years. Since the 80s. There's a documentary on CNBC about New York. Oh my God, that shit so good. And it shows Giuliani. How Giuliani has been plotting for federal office for years as well. So we want to satiate unfortunately too often, again, being Black in America, literally all the issues, right? The Blackgate, right? Being Black, and the perpetuation of our pain with no solution in sight, right? Blagedy, the Black tragedy, right? This is all the stuff I talk about with Black issues, right? All these blurgent, Black and urgent issues, right? Blackapathy, because you're Black and apathetic because keeping hope alive is killing you softly, right? So I get it, all these issues. So we want to do some shits and giggles. We want to do some ratchet. But there's a cost. There's a cost. You know what I'm saying? Because Giuliani and Trump and all these other people, they done figured their shit out and they're rolling it out. This critical race theory, there's a New Yorker article about it. How they planned to make critical race theory the wedge issue of the election. This shit is planned. And while we thinking that we're having fun on the dark side on Clubhouse, or we think that we're in these rooms arguing back and forth about critical race theory with racists, basically. You know what I'm saying? It's a way, pearls to swine. Sam Beto is pinging me right now to talk about what happened in Pretty Girl Mafia last night. Right? I'm literally right now, I'm getting pinged for that. And it's fun. And you're driving numbers. But while we do that, Kellyanne Conway came up with alternative facts. Speaking of Edward Bernays, right? When we think we're doing the dark side and we're having all this fun, they're plotting and planning. You know what I'm saying? Like, how the hell did the lead get in the water in Flint? By the time we figured that out, it was too late. Nestle, that's why I always tell people to boycott Nestle. Nestle went to the governor of Michigan and was like, nah, we want to bottle that water and make money. Stop giving that shit free to taxpayers. No. We're going to bottle it. And what we're going to do with the other water? Oh, we'll just give them that. We're going to divert it and everything's going to be fine. Really? Yeah. We're just going to divert the reservoir. No. The lake. No. We're going to bottle that water. No, we're going to pump this other water here. Don't worry about it. That's 20, 30 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? So whatever we're reacting to, it's already been done. This shit's already been planned. Strategery. Remember Bush? Strategery. Hell, I look, I'm like, how are we spending our time? Like, I don't, like, the whites that I associate with, and KJ and Amp, y'all can all, both of the Blacks, and also be like, you can black me up on this or disagree. So here comes Nadine. The whites that I talk to are the whites that are already willing. I have a club called the Coalition of the Whites Whom Are Willing. Right? They're willing. Right? We're going in these rooms on Clubhouse arguing back and forth with 2 or 3 racists. That's getting blood out of a turnip. What do you think you're doing? It feels good. You think you're not doing a thing. Like, your clothes aren't washed. your little nephew or your cousin or somebody that you probably could be mentoring in your family, or some kid down the block, you're not mentoring them. You're on fucking Clubhouse arguing with racists that are probably drinking, Jimmy Dean, or they're eating Jimmy Dean beans, and they're drinking Johnny Walker whiskey. Like, they ain't listening to you. This is entertainment for them. I've said this so many times. I'm like, okay, be in these rooms and raise your blood pressure. I don't know. Let me get to B and Nadine, and then I'm gonna have to hop off. But I love you all black, and yeah, this continue. I've DM'd a lot of you my information, because I don't be doing social media. I like to be off. I give people my number. I don't want social media knowing not just who I know, but when I connect with them and exactly what I say. So B and Nadine, what's good? Critical race theory, I Biden infrastructure, the blacks, reparations. What say you?
The reason why they're using critical race theory to alleviate black history, essentially, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're using one term to attack something somewhat related, but not totally the same. They don't want white kids to be taught about the injustices in this country. They're trying to erase the history, basically. And the reason they're doing that is because they saw on the 2020 presidential debate stage on national television, the question of reparations was brought up because of the ALOS movement threatening to weaponize their vote, and Marianne Williamson, a political candidate who supported reparations. And so
yes, the white woman. The white woman, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That scares the living daylight out of the neo-Confederates, because they know that it's the true history of slavery, for example, to be taught in history class, right? And the racial wealth gap to be taught in social studies class, what really happened, then those little white kids in grade school would become voters when they're 18, and they will vote for reparations policy. And that's why they're attacking it so vociferously. For my critiques of the left, I've always voted Democrat, except recently, which I can tell you what later what I did, but they know, and I have a problem with the left, because the left should have attacked this thing with equal force.
Yes.
And they did.
Nope.
They did not.
Nope.
They should have attacked it with equal or even greater force.
Yep.
Because they have these white people up in a frenzy that they're harming their children's psyche. We're making them feel bad about themselves. And the left was silent on it. Because the left does not support reparations. The left supports politics, same old, hot sauce in your chicken, and hot sauce in your possible politics, with black people don't get anything. And they want it to stay the same. They don't want us to bring up reparations. They don't want us to say abolish the qualified immunity, which should have been the message.
Right.
Instead of defund the police, it should have been abolish qualified immunity.
Right.
Destroy the police union. That should have been the message, because that's who's protecting the murderous cops. So, one thing to get me on problem, when we talk about these contentious roles between ADOS and others and immigrants, those are the village idiots of these two communities. We need to focus on, really that the thing ADOS gets right is the westernized politics. We can talk about these problems all we want, but if we don't weaponize our politics to take a bite out of the problem, the solution is weaponized politics. And what I did when I went into the voting booth, I know it's going to bother some people, it's going to be triggered. I went into the voting booth the other day in New Jersey.
Hold on, B. Okay, hold on here. I'm going to bless what you're about to say because it's a trigger warning. So I'm gonna use my tambourine to. Can I get an amen? Can I get a witness? Yes. We have B here on the stage, yes, and B is about to tell us, yes, something about who he voted for, and it might not be a Democrat. Oh, is that a hallelujah? Is that an amen? Is that a catch in the spirit? Or is that I'm going to lose my mind up in here? I'm in here. And we're black.
I'm going to sing the only song my grandmother ever sang. So listen.
Y'all can watch it. I'm on YouTube doing this foolishness too. Like the link is at the top.
I went in there and they had it was in school. And every time somebody opened the door, the alarm would come on like, man, it's this crazy loud alarm. I said, good God, you people have to listen to this all day?
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't even know how to turn your alarm off in the school. But anyway.
Yep. I used to be a teacher.
Yeah. You get a big sheet of paper and you check off for, there was 2 ballot issues, college gambling and should like bingo money go to the organizations that are sponsoring it or only to senior citizens and veterans as it did in the past. So I voted on those 2 issues, yes and no, whatever. And the rest of the ballot, I left totally blank. I didn't vote for Republicans or a Democrat. I didn't vote for my mayor who was unopposed. My councilman was fucking unopposed. And so I left it like that. And as I put the thing through the guy, the man was telling us how to do it. He stopped me and said, wait a minute.
You didn't vote. Yep.
I said, yes, I did. This is how I'm voting. And I'm so proud of my wife. She did the same damn thing. But, I just hope I wasn't the only one. But this is going to be the future of black politics. Until we get their attention, they will continue to sample on us and shit on us. And all that.
Okay. Breaking news here. We have an exclusive. B Lee for the blacks. Blastained from voting in the election or C-election, okay, and said none of the above. For the, for what was it, the mayor you said? B?
Okay, this is how you do it. You don't stay home. You want to show up, show your political footprint, they take notice. Let me tell you something. The other day, a man came up to my driveway when I was making my leave, and he had a little tablet or something. He asked me, he said, Mr. B, are you going to vote down ballot like you did last year?
Oh!
Because last in 2020, I wrote reparations as the president, and I voted down ballot Democrat.
Got it.
And he actually asked me, was I going to do that again? Isn't that amazing? So they take notice. When you are unpredictable, they want to know what's on your mind.
So B.
That's what you do.
No, you're fine. Only because I'm gonna need to and it has nothing to do with you. I will adore this room. I will adore all of you. I will appreciate everything. Just need to balance my life here. Unlike a lot of people on Clubhouse, I'm like, how do y'all wash your socks? How do y'all live? Because people be on Clubhouse all day and all night. So are you gonna vote? I mean, are you gonna run for office maybe instead, B?
Me?
Yes, you. I'm so sorry.
My background, they probably shoot me down. I used to be different, and I did a lot of freaky stuff. So they might use that against me. But some people might vote for me for that.
I mean, Trump said grab him by the pussy.
Right.
Yeah, hey, that might work for me. You got me thinking now.
Yeah. Kilpatrick, he'll come black. Remember Kilpatrick? I think he was the mayor of Chicago. That everyone, that high standard for like being electable. First of all, that's all whiteness. Oh, your electability. It's like, oh, you're a woman, you're not electable. You're black, you're not electable. You know what I'm saying? But wasn't Apaya? Wasn't he the Trump's like court? Wasn't he like stalking young girls in a mall, and he became like attorney general somewhere like in Ohio or something? So I would push black on that respectfully. Shout out to Elijah Joy for the blacks. You can do whatever you as they would. I'm Caribbean. Jamaican and Trinidadian. Do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter, you know, at this point.
You're right.
Yeah. You know, and I think I wrote a blog about like, you know, voting and what do we do last year, about Lil Wayne, Ice Cube, you know, and whatever flirting and dances with the devil they did with Trump. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, because I'm really passionate about this phenomenon that because we're Black and we don't have power and, you know, we're upset, right? So then it's just like, so the narrative, everyone has in their head a narrative where they want to win, that they are the hero of their own life story and their journey, right? So if you then know that this is some bullshit, right? It's hard, the cognitive dissonance within your own self to be a hypocrite, depending on who you are as a person, can be too much, right? So it's like, well, fuck the Democrats because the Democrats don't this, and fuck the Republicans because the Republicans really don't do this. But fuck the Democrats. You know, you go Blacks and Democrats, fuck them because I'm not no sucker. I see them for who they are. They take my vote for granted every year, so fuck them, right? So it's like a fuck you sandwich, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it don't taste good, it's bitter. And so you're like, well, fuck it all. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you just walk out of McDonald's, right? And so, you know, and again, it's not, what I say is it's not supposed to make sense. It's just supposed to make money in America. That those are the options, those are the bloptions and the choices and the issues, right? So like, again, it's the same thing with defund the police. Fuck the police. Okay, but fuck the police and then see what happens to the crime rate. Like, because we're Black. And that's why I always say, and we're Black, right? Because it's like, that's, you know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to critique you, but like, the solution isn't necessarily not voting for anyone, right? But then the solution isn't necessarily voting for voting for fill in the blank, Biden. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and it's like literally for me, to be honest with you, y'all, I did the same thing. I voted, and it was Ed Adams. I can't stand Eric Adams. I feel like he's just grinning and he's about to sell out New York City. And he is already hobnobbing with the developers, but he's gonna sit there and use his, like you said, KJ, his origin story, his Black story, about how he was raised in the projects. I'm one of 6 kids. I was raised in projects. Huh?
He's trash.
Yeah. He's fucking trash. Like, I put money on this shit. I put money on it. He's just grinning. He's just grinning ear to motherfucking ear. And he has the ear of all these developers. Oh, when he went to that late night party, Zero Club, whatever the hell the thing was called, and his son is running around taking pip cheesing with Ja Rule. And here comes Eric Adams hugging, shaking hands, grinning with all the developers. And they threw in what's his name? Forrest Whitaker, I guess, for shits and giggles. Because if y'all have not seen Godfather of Harlem, that is one of the most underrated shows. That show is so good, right? So,
can I offer some critiques of that show though?
Not now. I love you. That's another room because I do need to shut it down. And you're not gonna critique my show right now. It's my Saturday. I did a room until like 1:00 in the morning about critical race theory last night. Okay, I went to bed at like 3. My Black ass has been up since 7:34. Okay, I'm ready for the racial war. Okay, I'm ready for this revolution. Okay, so I don't have the capacity right now to listen to my beloved show be pilloried. Thank you. It's an issue. You know, I'm an artist and I'm complicated, and you know, and I'm sensitive about my shit. Shout out to Erykka Badu, right? So so really quickly about Eric Adams, like, yeah, he's trash. He's gonna it's gaslighting 101. It's cognitive dissonance. He's gonna piss on your neck and tell us it's raining. Like, he literally is about to do that. I mean, he's already showing us. He used to be a Republican when Giuliani was mayor. Okay. The only thing that man has wanted to do this entire time is become mayor. And again, this is not to shade anyone that has like big ambitions. I have big ambitions too. But there's something to be said when your ambition and your integrity, excuse me, right? Meet up in a way that you shit on your constituency. That's I sometimes when I do my Facebook Live, I have my crystal ball. I don't have it right now, but like that's what I see when I look at my crystal ball. And he is going to be the template. Do you know that the Democratic Party, they invite him everywhere? Okay? He's down at some big conference right now in Puerto Rico. His black ass, his grinning ass is in Puerto Rico. He promised the Dominicans that he's gonna fly to the Dominican Republic. What the fuck about Haiti? Excuse me? So the Haitian population in New York City, the only place that has a bigger Haitian population is Miami. How the fuck are you gonna go to the Dominican Republic and not go to Haiti? There you go, y'all. Roll out the red carpet for the bullshit. Eric Adams, I'm telling you, he's not for the blacks. And the Democratic Party is using him and saying like, wow, like this is the template for, leadership. You know what I'm saying? That he's black, but he's not too woke, he's not too radical. He's pro-cop. He's a former cop. I'm telling you. And he's black. And they're going to keep, and he's black. And he's black. Yeah. That, watch, as Rachel Maddow says, watch that space. He is going to be the model. And they're going to sit there and say like, look at AOC. No, that's not what we want. Manchin. Manchin is too cold. AOC is too hot. And Eric Adams is just right. Watch. That's what's about to happen. They're going to use Eric Adams as the template, as the patron saint of the Democratic Party. And they're going to use New York City as the model for all the other urban areas. Clean it up, right? And he's going to sit there and say, oh, I testified against stop and frisk. What? Stop and frisk never ended in New York City, by the way. They're still stopping and frisking. It's just that it's a lower percentage. It's not the ricochet, ridiculous. Like, I had students in my classroom that had been stopped. I've been stopped and fucking frisked, okay? So watch the numbers creep up again, because crime is ridiculous, and all those developers that want all these people to move back and all their money to move back into New York City, they want to be walking around with their $1 million everything, their $1 million Apple Watch. They want to walk around and feel safe, and it's not safe. People are getting slashed on the trains. People are getting mugged at knife point, gunpoint. I give Eric Adams till next week. Watch. It's not like people forget, and then we'll move on to Nadine. People forget that the Occupy movement, which I was a part of, the Occupy movement started under who? Obama. Sir, hope and change. Because after 3 motherfucking years of no hope and no change, by 2011, 2008, whoa, hope and change. By 2011, nah, you bailing out who? You bailing out what? We still drowning in college debt. What? Occupy. So it's the same thing's gonna happen. You put a black man in office that promises the world they're not gonna be able to have a return on any of those things that they're promising, and then people are gonna be in it. All activists need is a former cop to protest against. I mean, it is. I was like, Eric Adams, you're so dumb. Like, you're so rabid. You're so in love with you becoming mayor. You don't see that they're going to protest the hell out. They're going to protest you black, forth, right, and center. And I'm done with my rant. And we're black. Hey, Nadine. And I know KJ's like, yes! Hey, Nadine, what's good? You're the last one?
That was amazing.
Blamazing. And there's also a YouTube link. You can watch me. I'm an actual human being. And you can see me. Okay. Hey, Nadine.
As you guys were talking about Bernice and the history of propaganda and PR and the insidious nature of it all, I was thinking about what I'm in the middle of. I'm getting a master's degree because
in
dietetics.
Ooh, sexy.
Become a registered dietitian.
Yeah.
Right now, I work as a designer. I'm an artist. I also teach yoga. So beauty and wellness are a part of my world, and I want people to have that from the inside out.
Are you in New York?
No, I'm in California.
Betrayal.
I'm sorry. I'm actually a Californian, but people assume as a New Yorker. I take that compliment.
Yeah.
But here in San Francisco, it's really interesting to be back in school as an adult, like a really grown-ass woman is the way I phrase it, because I'm surrounded by teenagers who have no idea.
Yes.
I took a class that I called an Easy A to help fulfill my degree requirements in graphic design, and we're on propaganda and World War II, and everyone's shocked that Japanese people were interned in concentration camps.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just looking at them like, are you serious? Mm. And I want to ask them, do you even know the history of San Francisco State? You know, why are there ethnic studies classes in schools? Because of students at San Francisco State, which are now being dismantled, but that's a whole nother conversation.
And wasn't it Kent University that the U.S. bombed and wasn't that Kent? It was at Kent State that they had that whole huge
fight.
Yep.
Where students were shot.
Yep.
The biggest student protest ever up to that point, San Francisco State.
Bam.
It started with the Black Student Union, and it founded the Asian Americans becoming Asian American, coming together and saying, we need Asian studies in school as well. We need to be recognized as people. And all that happened in the 60s. And that was one of the good effects of baby boomers protesting in the 60s. And it wasn't people, dancing with flowers in their hair in Golden Gate Park. It was students actually getting their asses kicked.
By the government.
Absolutely.
By the government.
To stay in school.
Mm-hmm.
I did a paper in my graphic design class with these very uninformed teenagers and we had to do something pre-19th century. So I decided to write about bookmaking in the Islamic world before the Gutenberg press, because the bookmaking books were invented in China in the 6th or 7th century, got to North Africa, in the Islamic world. By the 8th century, books were being produced and made. They just didn't get to Europe until the 11th century. Literacy in Europe was around 30%. Literacy in the Islamic world, in North Africa, in the Middle East, 80 to 90%. Around the 14th century, when there was more trade between Europe and North Africa, things started to shift. When the war started, when the colonization started, suddenly literacy in North Africa is down to 30%.
Oh boy.
Keep the people stupid. And this is something that historically it always works. Keep people informed, have people fight each other. Just looking at Spain under Islamic rule, North African rule, under the Moors.
Yes.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone lived side by side. Everyone flourished, everyone created, everyone studied. And the science was there. Algebra was not invented in Denmark. Even the concept of zero didn't even come out of Europe. It came out of South America. But all that history is being pushed aside and erased because it doesn't support the narrative that white is right. And unfortunately, that is the conditioning that a lot of people are living under. And it's centuries old. And everyone's taking advantage of it. And I think some people are really scared to be somewhere else. And when I speak about the conditioning, recently I went to Chicago. Most of my family's from Chicago. My grandfather is a pretty amazing guy who worked with Al Capone, which is how he met his second wife, my best grandmother ever. And he was really strategic, really smart. He's actually Native American, ran away from home because he didn't want to be put in a boarding school.
Yes.
So I always say I'm as American as you can get. I'm Black, I'm Native, I'm apparently 1/8 Asian, which I still need to investigate. These DNA tests are really confusing. But 0 white, 0 European.
Wow.
I know, which confused us all because you think with the history of slavery and everything,
what
be something.
What DNA test did you use? This is exclusive.
It wasn't. It was Black Ancestry.
Bam. Okay, I was like, please tell me that you gave your DNA to a Black-owned company. Like, can you imagine these white-owned companies? Like, they're gonna sit there and turn around, and after 400 years of colonization, you're gonna sit there and charge me to figure out who the fuck I is? No.
23andMe offered free tests.
Say that again, Amp.
They also give your DNA to the FBI.
Hello, the database.
They can push you right in the database.
Yep, that's how they find sexual predators and things like that. So and that's one of their selling points actually. And they're like, look, you know, and Delta Airlines, by the way, is the first airline now to do straight up biometrics. They're straight up like, yo, they're rolling it out. And I think Delta is headquartered in Atlanta, right? So in Atlanta and I think Detroit or Chicago, there's two huge cities where Delta is rolling out facial recognition and hand scanning. They're like, yeah, just save all the time. You don't have to flash your passport. You just, just stand up to the little iPad there and take your little picture there, very fast who you are, yeah, and it saves you like an hour or whatever, and you just get on the plane. So, they're really making all of this so like easy, and I'm like, all of that's at a cost. So I always tell people, never do 23andMe. There's a 60 minutes what do you call it? Not episode. I mean, I'm doing real good on like three hours of sleep here. So it's a 60-minute, I guess like a segment. Told you, 3 hours of sleep. I'm done. Anyway, so there's a 60-minute segment where the CEO, who's a white woman, by the way, blonde, is like, oh yeah, like, she basically said that she goes to parts of Africa and of course she's saying it like, this is so exciting because again, everything is a gold rush. Everything is a new frontier. Okay. That's how whiteness operates. The new world. So the new frontier now is fucking DNA, y'all. DNA and water are the two things that like are infinite and like you can't put a price on it. They go fucking put a price on it. We now pay for water out of goddamn bottles, and now we're paying for our DNA. Hello. I say this all the time. So she was like, oh yeah, we're so excited to really unlock the human genome. And, really like we've got DNA from all over the world. And the only place we haven't, guess where? Africa. And so she says, yeah, we're so excited. It's like, how do we even do that? It's, such a vast continent. And what are we going to do? Oh, they give them a fucking bottle of Coke. Okay? Because Coke, distributors, right, have mapped out the continent of Africa and figure out ways to deliver fucking poison, toxic, high fructose corn syrup can unclog your toilet. Coca-Cola. If you don't know, you can look on YouTube how Coca-Cola is used to unclog toilets, okay, to the most remote, random, rural areas all over Africa. So they're like, all right, so this is already a thing, right? So pharmaceutical companies use those same supply chains, right, to give out malaria drugs. And then 23andMe is like, oh, we can use that same pipeline to give out 23andMe. And like, oh yeah, we'll just give them a Coke. So they're getting DNA from unsuspecting Africans, okay, for pennies on the dollar, if that. Okay, so when we think of Henrietta Lacks, right? And again, 23andMe specifically, their branding to differentiate themselves from AncestryDNA.com, right? Their branding is that they're giving health metrics, health data, right? That's how they say that, you'll find out, cancer in your family, or all of this. So they're saying they're mapping out the human genome to prevent diseases. No. This world is not about preventing diseases, because if that was the case, you'd fucking take the chemicals out of cigarettes. Hello? This is not about saving, it's never about saving lives, because the most obvious, easy thing to do is to take the 4,000 cancer-causing chemicals out of cigarettes. You never hear them do that. You never hear Biden, Hillary Clinton, you never hear any of these politicians anywhere in the world say anything about the war on cancer and how let's start with taking the chemicals out of cigarettes. They talk about putting labels on the boxes. They talk about putting bigger font on the labels on the boxes, right? Right? The labels, right? They never talk about, well, let's just stop it. So whenever you see them do the Avon walk for cancer, Avon has chemicals inside that goddamn makeup that causes cancer. These people are not about actually saving or solving anything. That I need to write down. They're not about saving anyone, and they're not about solving anything. It's not supposed to make sense. It's just supposed to make money. So really quickly, I was supposed to be, I was casted for this reality show with Oprah's network. Oprah saw me, was like, oh my God, we need her to talk about racism. And I was so excited. And then, because it was supposed to be talking about Harriet Tubman and I guess it was like the 100-year anniversary of the Underground Railroad. And so there was supposed to be a reality show where me and a whole bunch of other people, white, black, all kind of people, Asian, whatever, were supposed to talk about racism as we recreated the Underground Railroad. And they were like, yeah, we want you to take the DNA test. And I was like, damn it. I was like, national TV, give up my DNA permanently for this database. Oh, yeah. But Charlottesville happened. And then after that, the production company was like, whoa, this is too risky. And there went my opportunity to be on national TV. But then I also never gave my DNA to Ancestry.com. So there you go. There's a happy ending, I guess.
To give you a little background about Ancestry.com, was born out of the Mormon
Church. The Mormon Church.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And that's a religion that thinks all non-white people are cursed by God, and that's why our skin is the color it is.
They're referencing Ham. Mm-hmm. In the Bible.
I can't give my DNA to that. The woman who is the CEO of 23andMe and the founder is married to one of the key people at Google. So 23andMe is technically a Google partner. Mm-hmm. Google is at everything. They own Nest. They're in your house watching you. They own Waze. They're watching how you move, where you drive, when you drive. They're just collecting the data, and DNA was the next
wave. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the reason why the Mormon Church. So I remember Ancestry, like, was it in the 80s is when they started marketing? Because it started being about the family tree. So it started off very innocent and innocuous. Oh, we just want to learn about your family tree. Like, send us your birth certificates. We'll look things up. Why the Mormon Church? Because the Mormon Church, right, just like Coca-Cola is really good with supply chains because they're the ones trying to poison the world, right? Like Africa hasn't learned about the goddamn high fructose corn syrup, so give them Coca-Cola, right? Like cigarette companies do that too, right? They sell even more cigarettes in other parts of the world because they're like, y'all don't know about all these chemicals yet. Who cares, right? So same thing with the Mormon Church. The Mormon Church, they're really good at proselytizing. So they were already all over the world, already had all these records because they were taking copious notes on where else they can go and convert more people to become Mormon. So that is why Ancestry happened, because they had the databases unlike any other organizing entity, even more than governments. They had a global cartel, I guess, monopoly on records. So that's why, oh, hi, we just want to do, your family tree. Yeah. And so over the years, it morphed from family tree ancestry to ancestry DNA. And that's Ancestry DNA's marketing, is that 23andMe is only going to give you DNA's part, but Ancestry is going to give you DNA and your family tree. Yeah. So yeah, because and that's why when I have been doing research about this for years. So when Oprah's network came to me and was like, oh yeah, we want you to do Ancestry, I had already done all that research and I was just like, now, and then they also told me about AfricanAncestry.com. So African Ancestry, I guess, is different than yours, Nadine. And it was this one is founded by Howard University anthropologists, and they destroy your DNA, unlike Ancestry and 23andMe, which keep your DNA, which is what AMP is talking about, how they store it and then they sell it to the FBI and God knows what else.
Mine is the same. I got the name wrong, and I purposely picked them because they destroyed the DNA because of the history of how, especially Black women, are used in this country for science.
Mm-hmm. Our mitochondrial DNA. It is an issue. So I adore this. Am, did you have a final word, or B, you have a final word? Because I do need to eat and drink, and it's a sunny day. I got to go get my vitamin D and A activated.
So I'm just going to join whatever discussion you open up next because I love it. I love it.
I love you, Black. I mean, yeah, I'm like this all the time. You know, I don't stop. Yeah, because I'm literally on. Oh, yeah, because I'm literally on like 3 hours of sleep right now, and I'm good, right? Like, and people know that because literally my room didn't end till past 1, like 1:30, and I have text messages I could show y'all. I can screenshot text messages I was still sending to Paul, who was in my room at like 3 in the morning, and I'm up. I've been up.
I will add this last thing if I can, is that you know, when we were talking about the political, you know, debacle, if you will.
Yes.
You know, it's been argued that political power does not flow from the ballot or political affiliation, but yet, as Dr. Huey P. Newton stated, I'm more inclined to believe that, and that's what I currently do, is try to revolutionize my community into a mindset of at least standing for your own, which is a revolutionary stance in itself. So I think we should further our thought in that progression and try to move as such and accordingly.
Yep. You know, when it's another gaslight, you know what I'm saying? That like the only way for a Black person to protest has to be nonviolent. That's another, like, what? Like, that's not how America, nonviolent, like, well, walk me through Vietnam again. America will do that. It's like, oh, no, you can't, no, peace. No, that's not how America does things, you know? Yeah, and that's why these rooms on Clubhouse are these rooms on Clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a fucking room. You know what I'm saying? You're not standing in front of these white people at gunpoint. Shut the fuck up. Like, it'll be a whole other conversation. These people are on Clubhouse, okay? They're talking in their living room. They're getting their foot scrubbed. You don't know what they're doing. They're having a blast. And you're sitting here with your ideas thinking, nah, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Violence works. It's, you know, whatever. And I even get into arguments with my father, who's revolutionary, about that. And I'm like, well, Daddy, like, let's get out of the ideological and get into the actual, okay? Like.
So that's the thing. When people say I'm from the warrior class, my question, I always say, we have a lot of people from the warrior class, but no one's graduated.
But no one's what?
No one's graduated from the warrior class.
And what we have instead is all these bastardized versions of social media influencers, you know what I'm saying, or like half-assed politicians, like, you know what I'm saying? We don't really have templates for like, let's go. Or we do, but we don't reference them as much as we should, you know, or we revere them like, oh my goodness, Fred Hampton. No, what are you doing? You could be Fred Hampton too. Go do it. And it's like, we're so busy idolizing, you know what I'm saying? We dress up. It's like cosplay. Like, I don't think Fred Hampton wanted you to cosplay Fred Hampton. I think he wanted you to.
You know, what's really amazing is that we already have the military. We just have to, the military of the United States is our army. But we just have to put that dog on leash politically. See, if we use our political leverage to amass power within the system, we can tell the U.S. military where to go and where not to go, who to protect and who to evade. And that's the power that we have. That's the latent power of Black people in America. And that is probably our prophecy. We will be the voice of reason in the world. We were put here for a reason, I think. And that reason is to commandeer this massive superpower that was built on our back to foster peace in the world. In that position, we just have to take the power politically.
Well, ironically, and I agree with you, or agree, but ironically, you know, white supremacists are all up and down in the military, in law enforcement, right? That's the reason why January 6th was pulled off in such a success, because they leveraged all of that military, all of that artillery knowledge for themselves to sit there and do what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
And but there's no parallel universe where we're doing that for the blacks. So
It's because we can't have war in America when our sons, daughters, nieces, nephews are in the military at about 25 to 30%.
Oh.
So we be just fighting our own children.
Oh.
So what we need is get the dog on the leash politically, like I said, so we can control when the dog gets out the gate and who he attacks.
Facts, but again, what does that even look like, right? Like, because again, America to me operates in 20-year cycles, right? So Clinton was the first black president, right? That then made it palatable for Obama to actually become the black president, right? He was cultural appropriating black culture. Remember playing the saxophone, Arsenio Hall, right? So we're operating in 20-year cycles, right? So in order to achieve what you're saying, we're at least 20 years out from that, right? Because we would have to have candidates run, right? And then we'd have to also educate the populace, right? The voting populace to then actually believe in that candidate and vote for that candidate, right? It's not just to run, right? Because if you run and you don't win, then that's it, right? Let's not forget, Obama, black people were not voting for Obama. They were still ride or die. Who? The first black president, Clinton, right? So when Hillary came along, he the black president. That's one we want. We love him. Think times were good under him, under Clinton. Black people were not voting for Obama. Was it Iowa or Ohio? I don't remember which primary it was, or caucus, New York accent. That then it was South. It was
President Clinton really helped Obama. See, black people, especially like black men were leaning towards Obama. Black women were leaning towards Hillary. And what happened was Bill Clinton opened his big mouth and said, "We got to give up on this pipe dream of a black president." And that's when black women said, oh. And they said, okay, we're going to show you what the pipe dream. And then they jumped over to Obama's side.
Well, when you say help, you mean by subversion and being an idiot, and because Clinton is trash.
So not purposely.
Right.
He didn't realize opening his big mouth, he turned black women away from Hillary.
Right, but I think
they've done that recently. They've done that a lot recently. It's just
yeah, because Biden even said, remember when Biden was like, "Oh, you know, you're not black if you don't vote for me," something like that. He said, you know, so they right, Charlamagne God. So it's like, you know, they do that where they traffic in these racial tropes, you know, but it signifies nothing, right? So I'm just saying that to say that in order for things to move, right? I graduated from Howard University 20 years ago, right? So what you're witnessing me do now with Black issues, again, it's like we're way more to it, right? Like I have a character, I have a curriculum, I've lectured, I got kids to go perform it to. Like there's a whole lexicon, I have a whole store full of merchandise, there's a whole thing, right? So this is 20 years in the making, right? I've been doing social justice, avant-garde, satirical, subversive performance art for 20 years, right? And if you look at all my work, I'm doing and I'm saying the same thing this whole time, but this is the apex, right? I've been climbing up that mountain, right? And this is the mountaintop, right? So it's the same thing. For 20 years since I graduated Howard, I'm like, yo, like I graduated from Howard and I'm seeing all, you know, for 4 years, I'm like, I'm proud of Black. I love Black. You know what I'm saying? My professors are Black, right? Everybody's Black. You know, lawyers Black, doctors are Black, everybody's Black, right? And then I graduated, I'm like, fuck, New York again. Gang violence. The guns. The shooting, the drugs. I was like, ooh, Blackness. So what you're witnessing is 20 years of me being like, all right, what the fuck am I going to do? What is my response? What is my answer, right? To amplify issues and accelerate solutions. This is 20 years in the making, right? It's going to take a generation. It takes 20 years to really have any kind of shift, right? So what does that mean, right? It means it means like was said earlier, I think by B, right? In education, in the classrooms, right? It would also mean the adults as well, right? You'd have to make it sexy, right? Like there was an article, I'll push black on like what black men were voting for Obama, because I remember, not to say that we trust mainstream media, but I remember there was an article in the New York Times that was interviewing black men in a barbershop about who they gonna vote for, and they were like, and I'm telling you, it wasn't until white people started voting for Obama that black people were like, oh, okay, let's give that nigga a chance. And I don't even use the N word, but like literally it was like, You know what I'm saying? Like we needed the whites to then give us permission to make us believe, right? So it's gonna take 20 years of building up that confidence that we can be black, vote black, have a, as I talk about in Black Issues, a blagenda. That's basically what you're saying, B. That we would need to have a blagenda, right? And it would need to be non-negotiable. And what happens is every 4 years, right? 20 years is 5 4-year cycles, right? So that would be two presidential cycles. Pop, 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 pop. Right? Every 4 years, every 4-year cycles, we would need to continue to say, boom, this is who we're going to vote for, and this is the reason why. This is who we're going to vote for. This is the reason why. But it doesn't happen. Look what happened between Obama and Trump. Dropped the baton. Now we're on Biden. Biden himself dropped the baton. We ain't even waiting for the Republicans to replace Biden before the baton was dropped for the blacks.
You should have hit him upside the head with the baton.
Well,
yeah, I agree. Because nothing's going to move until we punish the Democrats, basically. Because no politician is going to even voice a black agenda until they realize black people have come out of our coma.
Yes. Yeah. And for people who were like, oh my God, like, nah, burning down police stations, that shit worked. I'm so sorry, right? And if not, then make the world racially just so that we don't have to do that. Because to me, we're not marching the streets, we're not burning down police stations right now. And the Ahmaud Arbery case, the jury only has one black juror. Okay? The cop. Yep.
It was fucked up and still proceeded.
Yep. He's like, well, throw up my hands. So again, if you're so adamant that burning down police stations is horrible, right? Horrible. Well, then show me examples of when we don't take those drastic measures, justice is still served, right? Because, I always say this, Dr. Martin Luther King was not leading a nonviolent movement. There was a lot of violence happening to Dr. Martin Luther King and John Lewis and all the rest of them, right? It's just that they chose not to fight black, right? Because the way they make it seem like there's no violence. No, there's tons of violence. The whites and the cops were beating them over with bricks, hitting them with batons, setting dogs on them. So, and I look now and I'm like, black. That's why I'm starting my web series. It's called Black to Normal, where I literally interview people about these issues. Like, weren't we just Black Lives Mattering? Weren't y'all just walking around with fucking cardboard box signs and Sharpie markers quoting James Baldwin? Where's that? Now it's critical race theory. Oh my goodness. And people's dream is to become like the head of the school board? Since when school boards are sexy? Because it's about racism and black people.
Yeah. I think burning down the police station good, right? But I think would have been extra, like if they could have combined that with political strategy where Black Lives Matter really conveyed to all the people in the street.
Yeah.
Next steps. And say one thing that we want is the abolition of qualified immunity.
Yes.
And to take power from the police union. Because they use that burning down the police station kind of against them, like a bad nightmare. And then now they were able to call them terrorists and throw that label on them. You know? So, like, if they use half of the energy that they had to really politically educate the people behind the movement, white and black.
Yep.
To pressure their elected officials for the abolition of falsified immunity and the clipping the wings of police doing it.
Yeah, because it was reduced to being a sexy spectacle. If we're looking at it through the lens of 2021, right? Oh yeah, I remember when, like, you know, we were burning down police. Yeah. I remember when we were like walking around with bullhorns. Yeah. Right? Because none of this happened. None of it. Zero. None of it's happening. January 6th, they're gaslighting us, making it seem like the shit didn't even happen. And Ahmaud Arbery, mother, is crying profusely in the courtroom. And Kyle Rittenhouse is walking around in a suit and tie. And, you know, we can't call the people who died victims. So, you know, that's why I'm starting to Black in the whole web series. So I adore all of you, but I gave.
I need to do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I need you. David Chappelle wrote a joke about reparations. You know the joke, where he showed Black people buying babies and all kinds of different stuff, right?
Oh, that wasn't a joke. That was a sketch. That was a sketch on the Chappelle show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that little sketch has lanes that are still walking, and people run to it as a trope to put down reparations. So I need somebody like talented like you to write a joke or sketch about reparations that really makes sense, that's going to really hit it where it needs to be hit.
Sure.
Not like Chappelle did damage when he did that sketch. That was damaging.
Well, I mean, I'm a comedian and, like, I'm a subversive, satirical, avant-garde performance art. So, I mean, I hear you, right? But again, why? Why is that joke damaging, right? Because the sentiment was already there. So he was just mining, right? Like a gold rush. He was just mining and reflecting Black, right? What people were already thinking and making light of it, right? Which is what good comedians do, because we're constantly look at this bullshit. We're looking at absurdity, and we're throwing absurdity Black in people's faces to wake them up and say, what the hell, what do you think of this? You know? No.
He made the joke on the white people. Chappelle made a joke on us. He made us look foolish. That reparation was a foolish idea. That was damaging. And he has codified in video form that lives forever.
Yeah, because we are not, well, that's why you're coming to me to put out more content, because we're not for every action, there needs to be an equal and opposite reaction, right? Because we can sit there and say, oh my goodness, like Dave Chappelle did that, it's damaging to, you know, Black people and our cause for reparations. And Republicans are sticking by critical race theory being in schools, and it's not even in schools. And it's not damaging to the GOP to continue to lie, bold-faced. Trump is not damaging to the GOP. Trump is not even in jail, right? So it is because Blackness, because of the notion of whiteness operates in scarcity. So then we, as Blackness, we also operate out of scarcity. No, we can't say this. No, we can't do that. We can't because there's too much to lose. We can't do that. We can't say that, right? So I hear what you're saying, right? But at the same time, it's like, you know, that was already out there, and people who are going to change their minds are going to change their minds. That's it. People who are racist are going to look at that and be like, yeah, exactly what I thought. Look at that. And people who are like, and can see through that. And I mean, yes, it was farcical, right? It was like I have a truck full of Newports pulling up into the corner store. I remember the whole thing, right? So I hear you, and I think he's kind of atoned for it. I'll say this: I'm a comedian, right? I do sketches and I do bits, all of that, right? And I do a lot of improv, right? And there's some jokes that I will share with certain of my friends that I know are too politically damaging that I can't make that joke. It would tank my career. And they're good fucking jokes. Hilarious. Because I'm hilarious, right? So when we're looking at, this is why I have the For the Blacks, right? When it comes to For the Blacks, it's everything's on the table. There's no real cost, right? There's no like, oh my goodness, it's like, you know, you're racist. Okay, but usually the racists end up black on TV or black on a book tour. You know what I'm saying? They usually recover, right? So what you're saying is that Dave Chappelle caused a lot of damage with that particular sketch. I mean, I've been listening to discussions about reparations for years. I haven't heard anyone bring that up. I mean, even if it's on Clubhouse, like they're not checking for that Dave Chappelle sketch anymore. They're like, fuck reparations because we hate black people. Fuck reparations. They don't deserve it. They're lazy, right? Like I don't think that Dave Chappelle's sketch is really adding any more ammunition to people who already thought that black people, you know, think about black people in dehumanizing ways, and already think that reparations is ridiculous because it serves white best interest to continue to make it that we as black people are lazy, and it's not that white people are lazy and also terroristic in the notion of not only engaging in the conquest of capturing enslaved people, putting them to work, but then also whipping them, chaining them, branding them, and giving them their last names, right? Like, right? So people who are already in the business of denial of that don't need a Dave Chappelle sketch to say, yeah, like they're already thinking that. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I was waiting for my phone, but I was hearing you yet. Only thing I say is that for a lot of people, that joke is the only reference they have to reparation for the average Joe, even for the black people, the blacks.
Okay.
The blacks, most of us are not on this app, and most of us are not know nothing about reparation. So that will leave people who only have that joke as a reference. Like when you think of reparations, oh yeah, that was funny, yeah. The man said he wants the baby with the reparations check. So like that's what I'm saying. Like
I got it.
Even more so for black, for us.
Got it.
Take it serious. Look at it a different way, you know. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
No, I get it. And so this is 400 years, right, of Malcolm X, who taught you to hate yourself, right? So I saw that sketch, found it hilarious, but again, I was raised from inside my parents' womb to be pro-black, to be Pan-African, to be proud to be proud to be black. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've already been inoculated or blinoculated, right, with the level of being able to navigate something that can be in some way construed as being anti-black and not have any repercussions on a conscious and subconscious level, right? But again, I'm an anomaly, right? So what you're saying is there's a lot of black people who haven't been raised like me or don't have the consciousness of you or AMP, who are more susceptible to that, to the programming because they've already been programmed, right? And what do you do? So but again, that goes back to, like I said before, 20-year cycles. Every generation, you would have to intentionally, like I grew up in the 80s, right? Like drugs are bad. That was it, right? This is your brain on drugs. Any motherfucking questions? Done. You know what I'm saying? We used to have people come to our classroom, talk about how angel dust is making people jump off of buildings. We were in the 4th grade. Shit, not doing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Drugs are bad. And that was that. Smokey the Bear said, only you can prevent forest fires. Okay, if we ever go to the camp, we have to be really careful when we want to let a campfire. Boom, done. Right? Like, mad. Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Oh my goodness, can't drink and drive. Now, why am I knowing this at 4th grade? Right? I'm not drinking, right? But they were teaching all of that to us. 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. It makes a difference, right? Because again, it's 20-year cycles. So Dave Chappelle is just one issue of and again, if you look at my logo, right? That's what my logo is. Issues blending into each other, right? So solution would need to blend in and build in on each other so that you can't point to any one particular thing and say, bad Dave Chappelle, shame on that sketch. Nah, that's like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, look, I'm gonna say this, like that joke was funny to me too.
Yeah.
Because I thought reparations was impossible, ridiculous, and I had the same idea. but that was a different time. So we could just put it under the category of the joke did not age well. That's all.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's really funny. It again, the goal of comedians is to hyperbolically explore the truth. That's what comedians do. They look at phenomenon that is already happening and say, hey, wait a minute, isn't this crazy? Hey, wait a minute, this why do we, why is it that when we walk Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld is the king of that, of like minutia, of like little shit, right? Curb Your Enthusiasm, little shit, right? Like the elastic, stretching out of your underwear, but none of your underwear is clean. Ah, fuck, I gotta wear this underwear that's stretched out elastic, but no one will notice, and then everyone notices, right? I just made that up, but that's the level of minutia, and make that funny, right? So, for me, when I do diversity training, I talk about like, all these things that are agreed upon that we don't even question, but think about some things being innocuous and then some things being really major, right? That we're still agreeing to, including microaggressions that build up day by day. So start being meta, start being actually introspective about everything that you're doing and why am I doing this? Why is this okay? What culture? Right? And I said, think about it. When you walk down the street and someone says, hey, how are you? You then reply, hey, how are you? You didn't answer their question. You answered their question with a question, and they don't answer your question. But that is totally, completely fine and fair and normal in our society. It's bizarre. Do you want to know how I'm doing? Do I want to know how you're doing? No. It's just been reduced to this is the pleasant way to say hi. Right? But we don't question it. Right? So there's all these things that go into being alive, being an adult, being a sentient being in this country that don't make no fucking sense at all. But we agree to it. Right? So the more that we're, again, I do diversity training. So if anybody needs a diversity trainer, holla at me, right? So the more that we're hyperly aware of the insanity, right? Then you're like, hey, why do I do that? Does that make any sense? And that's what comedians do. Because some people don't have time for a lecture. So comedians will sit there, point that shit out to you, make you laugh, and you're like, That's why I use comedy. I mean, I'm super fucking smart. Like I'm published. I've been lectured at Columbia. Yeah, whatever. But this is what I want to do. I love doing comedy. I love entertaining. Because you entertain and you're still engaging people's mind. They're like, oh, okay, right? You didn't mention to me, some professor, right? Some academic, right? That wrote this scathing journal about reparations. You mentioned a comedian. That speaks volumes to the power of comedians and the power that we have. And then again, to use that power wisely or not, right? Or, you can get a good laugh, but at what cost, right? I agree. But if you have a last word, but I gotta hop off. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm good. I want to get sleep.
Me to get some sleep? No, I'm not sleeping. I'm good to go. I am up. I'm telling you, I've had energy like this my whole life. I'm like pop. I look at people like y'all need to fix your diets. Yeah, I'm up. You hear my voice? You hear my brain? Like pop. I'm literally ready for the fucking revolution. If something would have happened right now, I'm good to go. My sneakers are at the door. Let's go. I look at people all the time. They text me all kind of questions. The people are not thinking. They're not reading. They're not disciplined. All the time. I'm like, why are you asking me this question? I'm telling you, listen, you're listening to a woman over 40 who had 3 hours of sleep. Done. I'm very disciplined. Yeah, and I'm telling you, people's brains, people's energy is all, to me, mush all over the place. I'm like red, literally, I look at it all the time. I'll text somebody my link. Is that your link? No, it's not my link. Are you live? I just sent you the YouTube live link and I put in there YouTube live link. When are you going live? I said in the text message now. Literally. That's why we looking at people like, people think they're being revolutionary. I'm like, you're when the revolution happens, all you would probably do is squeal. So I think people need to check on their diets and check on their bodies and try to be as healthy as possible, because that is also equally as important, like, you know, as like this political infrastructural, you know, all of this, like, great, but like when the revolution happens, when it comes time to really figure something out, or like when they knock on your door at like 2:00 in the morning, what you gonna do? Canadian eye holder is fucking ready. You hear me? 3 hours of sleep. Good. So that would be my final analysis for all of you. Like, be ready, stay ready. So love you all black and eat more vegetables. Love you all black and don't drink liquor, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, no weed, nothing. I'm just sober all the time, energy all the time. All my products are natural. My candles are natural. They're beeswax, not no fucking soy, not no Yankee candle. Like, everything is natural. And I have tons of energy, and my brain is clear as day. I don't eat candy. I don't eat sugar. I've had 2 colds in 20 years. Those of you who are looking at me on YouTube, I'm over 40. Energy. Pop, pop. All right. Love you all black. Stay healthy. Check in on each other. Y'all have my contact, blackissuesissues@gmail.com. I love you all black. Be safe. I see you, Nicolette. Love you, black.